What's going on in this video? This is the full in-depth course on how to build a sales team, how to hire closers, appointment setters, train them, onboard them, how to build AI infrastructure to be able to analyze your sales calls and handle objections, how to actually handle objections yourself, complete sales framework, absolutely everything. Now, if you don't know me already, my name's Tom Hyder and I run a company called Systemized Scaling, where we essentially help coaches, consultants, and agencies scale their business by placing closers and setters and growing their sales team. Now, all of the things that I'm going to be going through in this video is applicable for coaches and consultants and online service-based businesses. Have fun and enjoy the video. Here's exactly why your setter isn't booking in 3 to 5 qualified calls every single day. Now, the reason you're probably watching this video is because maybe your appointment setters don't perform like you want them to. Maybe they leave after a few months. Maybe you struggle to actually keep appointment setters on board or struggle to hire good quality ones. Now, I'm just going to go over all the reasons why this is the case. Now, let's go straight into the first one, which is compensation. A lot of people think, yes, I could just hire a commission-only appointment setter, 3 to 5%. They're going to perform, generate me all my appointments, loving life. But that's not the case, right? Let me put it in their perspective. Let's say you're a commission-only appointment setter. I offered you 3 to 5% commission on a 4K product that closes once every few days. Would you take it? Probably not. Let's say you had a slow start and you didn't even earn anything for 2 weeks, right? What are you going to do? Or let's say you break it down. 5% of 4K is $200. And that's if every single deal pays in full, which most deals don't. They're payment plans. So this is peanuts. You're not even getting $100, maybe $200 if you're lucky for each deal you set. How are you supposed to be motivated? Yeah, this leads to setters having a lack of motivation. And what a lack of motivation leads to is them underperforming, losing you money. They're leaving, meaning you keep on having to hire more setters. And they speak badly of your offer to other setters, meaning you can't actually attract good quality setters. Now, you're probably thinking, how do I actually pay my setters so they stay, so they perform? Okay, this is the combination that I figured out with a lot of clients and different people I've worked with in the past to actually keep setters and motivate them. And it's laid out like this. First of all, you want to give them a small base. $500 to 1K base just shows that you actually value them and you have the money to spend. Okay, then 3 to 5% flat on every single deal that they set. Plus, you want to give them an incentive so they're actually motivated. And at the end of the month, they're raring to get more deals. I've seen 5 to 7% if they get on all the deals set for that month, if they get more than 10 closed sets in a month. Okay, so anything under than 10, they get 3 to 5. I'd say 5, Then if they get any more than 10 or over, you want to give them 5 to 7%, 7% ideally, commission on all of the deals they close for that month. That is a motivating commission structure, right? And this shows the setter you're actually invested in them. That is an offer that you can actually, that they can take seriously. So they're going to stay for a decent amount of time. They actually have the capacity to earn some money if they work hard. Every single end of the month, they're going to push for that extra bit. Also, it reassures them that they're actually going to earn money. They have security, reducing churn and keeping good quality appointment setters, right? And the result is less time wasted on training, onboarding new setters like an endless hamster wheel. Setters stay longer and they push at the end of the month to hit that 10 closed set incentive. The amount of time I've seen clients who implement this and their setters are just grinding with closers, they're grinding with the offer owners, they're just spamming the inbox trying to get new leads to jump on calls and get that 10 appointments closed every single month is unreal, right? It's such a good motivator to have that incentive. And that base, even if it's $500, it just shows you're serious. And I really would invest in your talent like this. Really good way to attract good quality setters, okay? So that's the first point. Second point I want to go through is not hiring top talent and hiring from a bad source. So many times, coaches, consultants, business owners, they post on their story, I'm hiring an appointment setter or I'm hiring a closer, think they're going to attract top tier talent because they see other people do that. Now, the difference is the people who follow, maybe yourself, who is a fitness coach or who is a high ticket sales coaching company or who coaches for drop shipping. You're not going to have good quality appointment setters in your audience. So I don't know why you're advertising, I need appointment setters on your story. You're not going to find good quality appointment setters, meaning you just hire people who maybe are in university, maybe people who have a full-time 9 to 5 job, people who just want a quick side buck, and you're not going to get good quality appointment setters. So how do you find them? Right? How you find them is you actually develop yourself a appointment setting hiring pipeline. Now, with our clients who we work with, we tell them how they can actually develop this pipeline. But alternatively, if they actually want to use ours, we give them access to our appointment setting hiring pipeline as well, which pretty much has the level of appointment setter experience, beginner, intermediate, advanced, top tier setter, the name, the status if they're looking for a placement, if they're not, what they actually specialize in. And what this is going to do is just save you so much time scrambling, trying to find a bad appointment setter, and it's going to save you money. Okay. Now, this is the exact same with hiring closers. There's two type of way of hiring: abundance and in scarcity. Abundance means, yeah, you have loads of appointment setters you can choose for, absolutely loads of them, ton of them, meaning you can handpick the one that resonates with your offer and resonates with what you sell. Versus with scarcity, where you have to post on your story or you just have to pick from not many people, which leads to the number one most costly mistake. I go through this in another video with closers as well. If you hire the wrong person with a lack of experience, it's gonna cost you money, time, and headache training someone who potentially doesn't want to be trained, right? So reason being is it's really important to actually find this type of hiring pipeline, whether it be yours or whether it be ours, whether it be a different hiring pipeline with a different recruiter, whatever. And what you want to be looking for in good appointment setting talent is a few things. A top appointment setter isn't just someone who sends DMs or phones people and has conversations. They have great emotional intelligence. This is probably the best skill that you could look for in an appointment setter, right? Great emotional intelligence. They know what someone's feeling. They know what to look out for when maybe someone is uncomfortable, maybe when they have objections. They have good social skills, right? They have good people skills. They know exactly what to look out for. Right? So you want to screen in your interviewing for great emotional intelligence, great people skills. Experience always helps, whether it be customer service, whether it be on the phones, whether it be sales experience, whether it be direct appointment setting experience in the online high ticket sales space. That's probably the best. Technical knowledge is ideal, but it's not necessary. Of course, if someone has technical knowledge in losing weight and their appointment setting for losing weight, this is such a pro. So that's what I would look for in a top appointment setter, especially when you're hiring and you're screening for hiring an appointment setter. I think that's how you say it. Now, the next point, let's go through the next point, is non-repeatable process. Now, if you don't have the systems in place to actually hire appointment setters, they're going to come in and they're going to think, what on earth do I do? Reason why this is so important is because setters typically need more supervision, structure, and training than closers. And closers still need quite a lot of structure, training, and supervision. So setters need it even more. Therefore, you need a repeatable process for training, tracking, and management. Okay? Let's go through what you actually need. Few examples. SOPs for absolutely everything. You need documents going over SOPs on what they need to actually hit the ground running and do their job, so that when you onboard this appointment setter, you can just send them this document and say, okay, this is how you do this, this is how you do this, and this is how you do everything, right? So appointment setting processes and scripts. Scripts in terms of if they say this, you say this, right? If they give you this objection, send over this video. How to actually book in an appointment on Calendly or the software you use, how to use the CRM for follow-up, how to track data using the end-of-day reports and how they can fill in their end-of-day reports, follow up, how they can follow up, etc. You want to make sure you have SOPs for everything, and this is what we help clients come up with the structure in terms of what they need to SOP with and for, so they can actually have a good onboarding process, right? You want to make it easy for them to win, not like, okay, they have to figure it out, because they're not people who just go through mazes and just, work it out. You have to lay it out so they can win, right? And the next bit in terms of actually having a process that's repeatable is ongoing training. I went through this in a previous video, but this is pretty much any sales rep, closer, or setter. Yes, they may be a killer, but if you just let them do their own thing, they're going to turn into this, right? So you need to have ongoing training, especially especially with appointment setters, right? So what this looks like is one-to-ones with each setter personally every single week, at least one, just to gauge a temp check on your sales team and accountability. What I mean by temp check is you have to have a good pulse on your business. You've got to know what's going on inside your business, because if you don't, then how are you supposed to manage them effectively? So jumping on one-to-ones to see what their well-being is looking like, how they're feeling, what they're struggling with, what you can help them with, and group training. Sorry, just for accountability. If you need to hold them accountable, if you need to tell them what's what, if they're slacking, you need to, give them a piece of your mind in a professional manner and in a constructive manner, then you can do it on these one-to-ones, not in public. This is another training we can go through. Group training 3 times a week with all the setters, going over live combos or core reviews. This is really, really important because some people don't know what they're doing wrong. So if you can go over with all the setters what they're doing wrong, analyze a core review, analyze a conversation, then they can improve. So you want to do this 3 times a week and one-to-ones every single week as well. All right. So just to reframe this once more, expert driver, aka top setter, and an average vehicle sales process, which is how repeatable your sales process is exactly how your sales team is going to look. Even if you have the best setter, if you don't have a repeatable sales process, if you don't have a repeatable structure, they're not going to be able to perform, okay? Top F1 driver is not going to be able to drive this shitbox. I'm not saying your sales process is a shitbox. Now, one of the last points, which is a little bonus point, is lack of sales assets and objection handling content. Your marketing and your content should do most of the selling. I'm a sales guy, right? So I should be sticking up for sales, but marketing, I think, is so much more important, right? So with the marketing side of things, you want to make sure you have objection handling content, and this is intertwined into the appointment setting process. Right. So if you don't have this, if you don't have sales assets, objection handling content you can send over to prospects in the DMs, then you're missing out on so many appointments. So setters need to handle objections too. It's not just closers that need to actually handle objections. So if they don't have the right content to send over, they'll actually lose out on appointments they could have been booked, right? So let's say, this is a few examples. Let's say, I don't know, someone in the DMs is talking about a different process to getting SMMA clients, right? Saying, well, I heard this is the best. Then you can send over this video, say, yeah, no worries. Well, look, have a look at this video. Let me know what you thought. And this is going to handle that objections, right? Same with this. Same with high ticket sales, right? Same with this last company I worked alongside. A lot of people used to come on the sales calls and say, oh, but do you offer guaranteed placements place me into sales roles? This is bullshit, right? This is not real. So we used to send this over every single time in the appointment setting process to handle this objection, so it doesn't even come on these sales calls, right? Same with budget on ad spend. Same with why you should run YouTube ads, right? So if you have all the objections that come up in sales calls in YouTube videos or content and you can send over in the appointment setting process, you're loving life and you're going to get so many more booked appointments, so many more qualified. The thing is, hiring closers and setters can be a really technical process if you don't do it right. And it could cost you thousands and thousands if you make certain mistakes. So in this video, I'm going to go through exactly what the main mistakes you could make when hiring closers and setters that could cost your business thousands, plus an extra bonus one if you guys stay to the end. So let's get straight into it. The first mistake that you could make when hiring closers and that you should avoid if you want to save thousands is a lack of a structured onboarding. Now, an onboarding is pretty much how you ramp up a closer and how you get them prepared to take calls. But look at it in this way. There is 2 instances. One, there is an expert runner who prepares, he takes his electrolytes in the morning, drinks water, he prepares, he trains for 6 to 8 weeks, he's prepared, right? And he absolutely aces the race, comes just hitting the ground running, loving life. Whereas you have this runner who thought, yeah, I can do this. I don't need to prepare. I don't need these stupid electrolytes. I don't need to drink as much water. I don't need to train. I'll just raw dog it, right? And he hits the race and he's dying after the first few miles. He's dying. He can't carry on. Right? This is pretty much the same as a closer who has an onboarding and a closer who doesn't have an effective onboarding. And onboarding is probably the most important part in hiring closers. Okay, so what does this actually look like for a closer, right? A closer who has a good onboarding has a sales training manual with how to sell to the specific prospects that tend to come onto sales calls with your offer training manual going over specific frequently asked questions and really teaching the closer how to actually answer specific questions and a bit more about the actual offer they're selling. Because if they don't know about the offer and they don't have the conviction, I promise you their close rate's going to tank. Next one is one-to-one training in terms of sales training, in terms of watching call reviews, in terms of just answering any questions the closer needs to hit the ground running. A trial period. A trial period is not throwing them into calls straight away, maybe giving them one or two underqualified calls just to allow them to really pick up speed and just get the hang of things. And one of the last ones for a really good onboarding is SOPs for onboarding clients, end of day reports, pitching the offer, SOPs for pretty much anything. And if you guys don't know what an SOP, standard operating procedure in terms of what happens and a walkthrough on how to do something in the business. So the closer has a manual of if they need something, if they need to learn how to do something, whether they want to onboard a client onto the program, onto the service you offer, or they want to know how to fill in the end of day reports to track the data, or they want to know how to pitch the offer, anything. They have SOPs there. So it's almost like an assembly line, like Tesla. You know, they have an assembly line of people doing each job, right? They know exactly where to go to learn how to do each job. And the result of this is a 2-week ramp up period to KPI. You know, a closer comes on board and they're rocking and rolling, hitting the closing rates you want them to hit, and they should be hitting within 2 or so weeks. You know, it's a really quick ramp up period and they're hitting the ground running, essentially saving you a ton of money. And then we go to a closer who doesn't have a good onboarding period. Maybe they're hired and they just don't have the right support. Yeah, they get a few one-to-ones, but they don't have a training manual. They don't have a set frequently asked questions sheet to answer any questions from the specific offer. They don't have near to any support, and they're thrown straight on calls. And this is the result of this, right? Unorganized onboarding. They don't have unclear. Actually, this is what it looks like for a closer. Unorganized onboarding, they have unclear expectations. They don't really know what's expected of themselves. No SOPs, no offer training, no sales training. And the result? 4 to 6 plus week ramp up period to KPI, meaning there's 2 to 4 weeks more, or 2 to 6 weeks more than the other closer of wasted calls, wasted ad spend, wasted money for you as the business owner. AKA 30 plus sales calls that are below KPI. Now, 30 plus sales calls, if you have a 5K offer, that is a lot of money you're missing out on, right? And essentially, a week onboarding can cost you thousands. So I think probably the main thing, if you want to take one thing from this video, is to make sure you have a good onboarding process that can allow closers to ramp up to KPIs relatively quickly, knowing what they need to do, right? You don't want to throw them on calls straight away. You want to give them a little trial period, warm them up, and like not even the best companies in the world can onboard a closer in 2 days, 3 days. Like it just doesn't make sense, right? Now, the next mistake that you need to avoid if you want to save a lot of money in your business is having an average vehicle. I've gone through this in a few other videos of mine, but look at an average vehicle like this. We have an expert driver, which is aka a top closer, right? Top closer, expert driver, but we have an average vehicle here, which is pretty much an average sales process. Now, a lot of coaches, consultants, business owners, agencies, they focus on getting this first, thinking it's going to solve their problems and just cure their inefficiencies, right? Things is going to get them to 100K a month, whatever. But this leads to 2 outcomes. Your driver, essentially your closer, is going to leave quickly to find a new vehicle, one that's actually going to pay them the money they want to earn. They're going to be capped at a certain point and not perform at their max. Like, think of it this way. An expert closer, an expert driver, if it can only drive at 80 miles per hour in this shit box, then like however good they are, they're just driving at 80 miles per hour. Anyone can do that, right? Essentially, this is costing you money. So you've got to make sure if you're hiring closer, you have to have a good vehicle first, and then you hire the closers, right? Then you hire the top F1 style drivers, right? And how do you know if you need to improve your vehicle? If your show rate is below 70%, meaning if less than 7 out of 10 people are showing up to book sales calls, then you probably need to improve your vehicle. If your close rate's below 25 to 30%, if you don't have a follow-up or referral system, if leads come to calls uneducated and low quality, if you don't have a tracking system or you don't track data efficiently or effectively, if you have a messy CRM or you don't have a CRM at all, you probably need to improve your vehicle, right? So you want to make sure that your show rate is above 70%, you have a 25 to 30% plus closing rate, you have a follow-up system, you have leads coming to calls who are educated, right? This is super important. It's probably the main thing that a lot of my clients face, right? They focus on the driver first, okay? So you want to make sure you dial this in so you have an F1 style car, aka sales process, because what that's going to do is going to retain these type of people, right? If you have a shit sales process, these guys are going to stay for a few weeks, a month, they're not going to perform, and you're going to probably blame them or they're going to leave, right? You want to retain these closers. You want to make sure you have a good car for them, okay? Now, the next point in terms of actually making sure you don't cost thousands for your business when hiring sales reps is hiring the wrong sales rep for your business. And hear me out on this one. Let's say Michael Jackson, the best singer, like, arguably in the world, right? Top performer, best singer, aka in this case, top closer. If you put Michael Jackson in a garage that fixes up cars, like, he's an expert singer, but he's going to have no idea what to do, right? He's going to be clueless. So it's so important to make sure your closer, aka Michael Jackson, is in the right business. For example, let's say Michael here, a top closer you hire, specializes and has only worked in like agency style businesses selling B2B, right? They're the best closer ever. They've closed multiple seven figures, but they've only worked in B2B. And you hire them for a B2C make money online program, right? Like, they're likely not going to have any experience in this. And it's going to take them a lot longer to ramp up and get to KPIs because they're used to B2B. They're used to one way of selling. So if you hire closers that aren't suited for your business, that aren't actually suited for the style of your business with their experience, then it'll cost you a lot of time in terms of ramping them up. Alternatively, if it's the exact same with culture fit, it's the exact same with actually hiring a closer that fits your culture. If your culture is high performance, top, holding team members accountable and being quite ladsy, having high standards, right? And holding them to a high accountability level. And this closer just wants, maybe is a really good performer, but just wants a bit more of a relax, let me just do it on my own type vibe. Like, they're likely not going to stay at your business for long because they don't align with the culture as well. So it's important when you're interviewing closers, you want to make sure that their cultures and your cultures and type of values align. All right, because the worst thing is if you don't get on with the closer, if you don't share the same values, maybe they don't like the way you manage, maybe they don't like the way that your company runs. They're going to leave after a month or 2 months, costing you so much in terms of training that closer up, opportunity cost, etc. Now, it's the exact same with distractions, right? This is a nice little diagram for you guys. So Michael Jackson, let's say he sees like 5 beautiful looking girls, right? In this case, this is side projects that are going on, offers they're working on, maybe little coaching they're doing on the side, distractions. Maybe they're just not all in, right? They're focusing on this. They're focusing on the girls, the distractions, whatever. I didn't mean to do that, but Michael can look at whatever he wants. But they're not really focusing on your offer because they have 2 things. Charlie Morgan lays this out pretty good. Let's say you have a sun, right? And energy comes from this sun, right? Let's say you're focusing on 10 things or 3 things, right? You're only going to be able to focus on a certain amount. Whereas if you focus on one thing, all of this focus is put into one. So that's the amount of energy that your closer can put into your offer. You want to find a closer that has this amount of energy, right? Not loads of different things. So if the closer you're interviewing in the interviewing process says, yeah, I've got another offer on the side, or yeah, I've got a side gig, that's a red flag. It's a really, really big red flag you want to avoid because it's going to cost you a lot of money. They're potentially going to leave. They're potentially going to pick one that's more suited to them or one that's making more money for them. And it's just going to be half-assed for both of them. But the very last one I want to go through, which is That's a little bonus for you guys. I just wanted to reel you in and do some shitty little clickbait for you guys. And this one, which is a mistake that a lot of people make, is don't have ongoing training for closers. They think, oh yeah, I've hired a really good closer, I can sort of just leave them to it, right? I can just leave them to it. But you've got to see closers as a muscle, right? If they keep on getting worked out in the gym, they're going to be pretty juicy, right? They're going to perform nice. They're going to do their bit. They're going to bring in a lot of cash for your business. But take it from my experience, however good a closer is, if they don't have ongoing training, they're going to turn into something that looks like this. Now, no girl's going to want this. No money's going to be attracted to this, right? You don't want this in your business. You don't want a sloppy, feeble arm in your business, right? So if you don't train your closers on a regular basis, at least 3 times a week, review calls with them, get them to review the calls, hold them accountable to training, then they're going to diminish, right? Their closing rate's going to dip. They're not going to generate as much money for your business as you probably want. So really important to consistently train your closers and make sure they're on point. Now, what's going on? And in this video, I'm going to be going over the follow-up technique and process that can allow coaches, consultants, closers at 30% onto their cash every single month. So this is the Sales Accelerator framework, the framework I use with all of my clients, but we're not going to go through all of that today. What we're going to go through is the systemized follow-up routine that I followed when I was a closer and that I implement into every single client I work with. So let's get straight into it. A lot of people think follow-up isn't that important, but as you've probably already heard, when I was a closer, 30 to 40% of all of the income I brought in for businesses was through follow-up. So if you're sleeping on follow-up, you're missing out on so much for your business. Now, what I want to stress is things are systemized. That's why I start off with a systemized follow-up routine. So to get straight into it, first thing you want to prioritize is 3 pipeline blocks every single week minimum. And the reason I say 3 pipeline blocks every single week is it has to be a set thing. It has to be systemized. You can't just have, oh, I'm going to do follow-up today. Oh yeah, today I feel like doing follow-up, because it's just not going to work. It has to be something like the gym. You do it even if you don't feel like it. You do it whatever happens. It's in your calendar. So what I would suggest is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And in these pipeline blocks, what you want to be doing is sifting through your CRM, sifting through your list of hot leads to cold leads. And the first thing I want to stress is priority of urgency. With these pipeline blocks, the way you want to structure them is you want to go into your CRM and you want to start with the hottest leads. Okay, so you want to go for the deposits, or the offer made waiting for answers, or the short-term follow-ups, people who are set to potentially close in a week's time. And once you've sifted through all of those people, the hottest lead, then you can go to more of the cold leads, people who maybe haven't got a set time when they are going to close. Maybe people who said they're ready to close in a month's time, or maybe they won't have the money for 2 months. Then you want to just message, check up with all of these people, make sure they're still at the top of your mind and they actually remember you. Okay. So just to recap, 3 pipeline blocks every single week minimum, maybe more if you want to really go hard on your pipeline, if you have a really big pipeline. Sorting from urgency, so warm to cold, starting off with maybe people with a deposit, people who've said, I need to think about it, I need to speak to my partner, people who have a follow-up call booked. And in this section, it's really important that the CRM is clean. No point having a CRM that's all over the place, that you don't really track leads going in for a pipeline block, because you're not going to know who to go first, right? So when I say clean, clear CRM, you want to make sure that you have all the relevant pipeline opportunities, whether it be booked call, follow-up call booked, offer made waiting for answer, deposit, no-show, short-term follow-up, medium-term follow-up, long-term follow-up, all of the relevant sections, so that you know, okay, this person is in this section, okay? And you have the notes below under every single lead, knowing what happened on the call. Because if you have this, it's going to be easy. You can go through your pipeline blocks and you know exactly where each lead is, okay? You can sift through easily. Because if you don't have this, it's going to be toast. Now, next one is the actual way you follow up. And I don't want to just have a generic way of following up, because everyone is used to this. Everyone is used to saying, oh, I'm just following up. It's salesy, it's stupid, and no one's gonna listen to it. So I want you guys to follow a value-based follow-up. And by value-based follow-up, I mean actually care about the lead, actually show the lead that you really want to help them. Okay, so build a relationship with them instead of just saying generic things like, oh, just following up. And how can you do this? Right, first way is a custom Loom video. What I like to do, this is more short term after the call is finished. Let's say someone says they need to think about things, or maybe they got a follow-up call booked in 2 weeks. All right, what I would do is I'd send a custom Loom video going over what we went over on their call, going over what we feel like a good solution for them would be. So just recapping what we went over the call. And what that does, it just makes them feel, wow, this person actually listened and they actually want me to do well. So for example, let's say someone works a strenuous 9 to 5, 10 hours a day, but they want to lose weight, and we have a weight loss training program, whatever. I would send a custom Loom video saying, hey John, I had a really good chat. Just to recap on what we went over, your situation is X, Y, Z, and the main solution I feel like would really help you is structuring your calorie counting after your 10-hour day job in the evening, just when you put the kids to bed, so you have enough time to really focus on it. And then on Sunday, that's when you could really meal prep your food and really just set up yourself for the week. Very vague example, but it just shows you've actually really thought about their solution. Okay, that's a good example of value-based follow-up. You could also do this maybe long term. Let's say you've not spoken to someone in 3 months. Okay, you could say, "Hey John, I was just going over the database. We look at all of our past calls, and I remember X problem. I was just wondering if you managed to find a solution for XYZ issue, or this is an updated solution that we've just come up with. I hope this helps." It's just off the top of my head, but just creating a Loom video or a voice note or a message that really just shows someone you are thinking about their problem. Okay. Another one is sales assets and training. By sales assets, I mean the content that you put out on your YouTube channel or on your Instagram or your Facebook that's going to nurture people even more. So this could be training. This could be objection handling content. So for example, let's say you just release a new video on the best new technique to get clients for coaching businesses, and you want to send that to someone it might relate to. Let's say you jumped on a sales call with someone a week ago or a month ago who was struggling to get clients with their coaching business. You could just pop up saying, "Hey John, just posted a new video on XYZ. I remember you were facing XYZ issues, so I thought this would help. Let me know what you think." And what this does, it just shows people you're thinking of them, okay? It's not saying, "Oh yeah, do you want to buy my product? Do you want to jump on another call?" It's just putting you at the top of their minds. So it increases the chance for them to message saying, "You know what, this does help. Can we jump on another call?" And as you can see, it must be personalized. You can't just send random videos and say, "Oh yeah, here's a video just to help." I mean, you can, but it doesn't have the same effect. So this works the best when you tailor it to their problems and send them a video based on their problems. And this is why having a clear CRM is important, because if you have the notes on a prospect 3 months ago that you forget their problem, you can see their problem on the notes and you can tailor it to a sales asset or a training video. Another one is voice notes. You know, it reminds of the connection built on the sales call. So if you send a quick voice note saying, "Hey John, I was just going through the database and I came across your name," or "Hey John, we were actually speaking about you on a team meeting yesterday. How's things?" So instead of just a generic message that everyone sends, you can send a voice note, and it shows that you're taking the time out of your day to actually speak to them, and it reminds them of the connection that you guys built on the original sales call. And last one on the value-based follow-up is authentic interactions. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Comments on posts, stories, etc. Not even selling some of the time. So let's say you have a lead on Instagram or on LinkedIn or Facebook. You can just comment on that post saying, "Oh, congratulations on this, that." Or let's say someone went on holiday. "Oh, sick, looked amazing. How was your holiday?" You know, just being a friend, you know, being someone who's there, being someone that's actually checking up on them. And what that does, it's a very non-salesy way of bringing up the conversation of where they last left things. So for example, let's say you say, "Oh yeah, how was your holiday? You have a good holiday?" "Yeah, it was great." "Oh yeah, I've been to Greece as well. I've been to XYZ." You know, building a relationship oh yeah, by the way, did you manage to find a solution for XYZ problem? Or did you manage to have a think of what we talked about? So instead of just popping up saying, oh yeah, did you manage to have a think about what we talked about? Which is very salesy. You can start off with a really genuine conversation, and the follow-up, the actual following up, just rolls off the tongue. Now, the next point in the systemized follow-up process is that consistency is absolute key. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and say, oh yeah, you use one of these techniques and they're just going to jump on a call and close. That definitely can happen, but most of the time you have to be really consistent. And by consistent, I mean following up with people potentially for 6+ months. For example, this guy, he was in the pipeline for about 11 months, 11 and a half months with the last offer I was closing on. And I was messaging him, building relationship, commenting on his stories. And this was after about 4 months of follow-up. This guy didn't have the money. And he says, what's up, man? Looking forward to our next call, doing everything I can to be ready as possible. And he was ready to close because I built up the relationship over a matter of months. And then in September, he says, and I'm ready. Can you send me a link to make a $2,400 payment? And then absolutely. Thank you, Tom, for being on top of this. So leads are actually thanking you for messaging and following up over months and months and months. A lot of people will be a lot shorter than this, but there are going to be leads that you do have to follow up for a long time. And it definitely will help if you just include these leads in your pipeline block every 3 weeks. So you should get the point. Now, last one is nurturing an image. I message all of my leads on most of the offers I've been on, most of the coaching companies I've closed for with Instagram. So after every sales call, I've added them on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, so they can see that I'm a real person, so that they can be reminded of me. Okay. So Instagram stories, every single time I post an Instagram stories, a lot of past leads would pop up and say, oh yeah, just relate to me on the Instagram story. But what this is doing is it's nurturing them. They're not just seeing the founders' Instagram stories or content. They're seeing you as the closer, or if you're the coach yourself, they're seeing your Instagram stories. Okay, so you're nurturing them. So posting Instagram stories, making sure they can see it. That's why it's so important after every sales call to make sure they have all of your socials on there. And the last one on this is you've got to make sure you have a good profile. You've got to make sure your profile is optimized, because we're in a trust deficit economy at the moment. In the coaching space, in the online business space, there is a lack of trust. So people don't know who they can trust. So if you have a good profile, then it's really, really key, and it's going to really help you. So for example, blue tick, really good to have, just psychologically builds trust. Clear profile picture, a clear bio, an all right ratio of followers, a decent profile. So decent colors, fair few profiles, fair few pictures, social proof, you with different people, you in different countries, whatever. So make sure you don't have a crappy profile, because if you have a crappy profile, people aren't going to trust you. Last thing I want to go through before we call this a day is follow-up should equal genuine connection. It shouldn't just be transactional. You're just messaging to get some money out of people. It's really important to reframe this and actually think of this as helping people. Same with sales calls. You want to approach every single follow-up like, you know what? I know I can help this person. I'm going to help them as much as possible. What's going on in this video? I'm going to go through the exact objection handling framework that I've used to personally close 1.2 million in cash collected in agency and coaching sales, and the exact same framework I use to coach hundreds of sales reps for the teams that I manage and place into businesses. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so first things first, you have pitched the prospect. You've not yet dropped the price, but they have no more questions. So it's very, very, very important to get rid of as many objections as possible before the price drop comes, because I see a lot of sales reps, a lot of founders make the mistake of just going straight into the price drop. They give them an objection and they don't really know where to go. So the goal here is to filter as many objections as possible. A sieve or a colander, something you drain pasta out of. You can see it the exact same type of analogy. So temp check, what are we doing? First things first is we're asking, okay, do you feel like, based on everything that I just went through, the whole program, the whole service, whatever, do you feel like this is the vehicle that can get you to insert XYZ goal? So do you feel like this is the vehicle that can get you to 20K months, replacing yourself in sales? Or do you feel like this is the vehicle that can actually get you to 10K months, retiring your family? And it's very important to listen in between the lines, because most of people, 90% will say, yeah, But not everyone means it. So it's very important to listen on their tonality and their confidence. If they say, yeah, 100%, if they seem pretty confident, you move on. And I'll go into that in a second. If they give you a tiny bit of uncertainty, super, super important to call it out. Call out that elephant in the room and essentially call out the bullshit, right? So if someone says, yeah, I think so, very important to say, you don't seem so certain. Is there anything holding you back? Because what you want to do is you want to get rid of any underlying objections or any uncertainties before the price drop. Because if not, it's going to be very complicated after the price drop. Okay, so you get into that. Maybe you get into an objection, you handle it, etc. And then once you feel like you've handled an objection at the temp check level, you want to say, okay, is there anything else apart from X, Y, Z that's holding you back? No, 100%. And then even as a triple confirm, you essentially want to just confirm again, right? So you want to say, okay, sweet. So apart from that, you're 100% on the process. You know this can work for you and get you to XYZ goal. Yes. Then for a second temp check, the second filter that we're putting it through is the 1 in 10 rating. It's just another bit of security added before the price drop. Okay, sweet. So hypothetically, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you absolutely hate me, you want to jump off this call, it's not looking good for me. 10 being I want to rock and roll, I want to get started right this second. Where would you rate yourself? Okay. Usually if they rate any higher than a 9 with strong confidence as well, you can probably move on. Okay. If they rate anything lower than a 9, an 8, 7, 6, whatever, you want to ask, okay, sweet. So what is stopping you from being a 10? Okay. And this way you're essentially finding out what the concerns are, what are the objections, what are the things that could potentially stop this deal from moving forward. Okay, once you've done that and you've handled those objections and you've double confirmed there's nothing else, then you can move on to the price drop. Okay, so price drop, really simple. Okay, it's a one-time investment of X, Y, Z. Bit of silence. I don't really agree with the, 2 minutes of silence waiting for them to speak. If they don't speak after, 15, 20 seconds, just say, okay, sweet. So you ready to get rocking and rolling, or what are your thoughts, right? Then here is where the magic happens. They will usually give you an objection, whether it be think about it, partner, price, etc. You diffuse. A lot of closers, a lot of salespeople, a lot of founders, they just jump down the necks. Okay? There is a difference between pressure and holding someone accountable. Pressure doesn't sell. Pressure just drives someone away. Holding someone accountable, completely neutral, is really what's going to drive sales. Okay, so you diffuse, yeah, no worries whatsoever. And then this is probably the most important part of the whole process: probing and understanding. Let's say, I'll give you an example. You went to the doctors, okay, and you said, doc, I've got a headache. And they said, okay, sweet, you've got cancer. You probably wouldn't listen to them, right? And why is that? It's because they've not probed and effectively understood your diagnosis, right? They've not properly diagnosed you. So you would expect a doctor to say, okay, sweet, what type of headache is it? Is it sharp headaches? Is it achy headaches? Is it numb headaches? What are your symptoms? Do you know what I mean? And then when they fully understand the quote unquote objection, then they can give you a diagnosis. So it's the exact same in sales, right? Exact same in discovery. A lot of closers, a lot of founders, they assume they know what they're talking about. They assume they know what the prospect means, okay? It's a lot of money. I need to think about things. I need to speak to my partner. But you don't understand what they actually mean behind that. I'll give you a few more examples. So when someone says, yeah, it's a lot of money, a lot of people might assume that it means it's like too much for them. They don't have the budget, or they don't see the value, right? But it could mean so many things. A lot of money could mean they don't have the money, like I just said. It could mean they don't see the value in it. It could mean that they have the money, it's just a bit of a big jump, maybe fear, right? Or it could mean that they feel like it is a lot of money as opposed to what's out there, which of course is value. So you want to probe and understand the objection, okay? Partner objection. Okay, so how come you would need to speak to your partner? Because we run these decisions by each other. And then it's very important to try and invalidate that logic, right? And we'll get to that in a second, but you want to probe on their situation, okay? Do you need permission from your partner? Do you share a joint bank account? Whenever you make decisions, is this something you have to do? Like, could you literally not make a decision without running it past your partner, right? Especially with guys, they don't really want to admit that their partner sort of runs them. Do you know what I mean? So very important to really get to the crux of this. After you probe and you fully understand what the objection is, you know exactly which route to go down. You know how to tackle it, right? As opposed to not really knowing what the objection is and you go down a different route and you're sort of digging yourself a hole. So for example, I need to think about it. Okay, no worries. I completely get that. Just out of interest, like what is it that you need to think about? I know you said that you're 100% on the process. You know this will get you to XYZ goal. So yeah, well, what's coming up for you? Oh yeah, I need to speak to my partner. All this. Do you need permission from your partner? You're probing. You're getting more info on their situation so you can handle it better. Okay. Then you isolate. Okay, sweet. So apart from that, is there anything else holding you back? The only thing is that you need to speak to your partner. You're 100% in the process. Yeah. Now you know this is the objection. Okay. This is why you invalidate the logic. Now, a lot of closers, a lot of founders, they rush for these reframes, right? These word tracks, which yeah, they do work. But the first thing to do in any handling of objections is invalidate their logic. The prospect has probably told you things early on in the discovery that probably invalidates the logic of this objection. Okay? So if I give you an example, let's say someone says that they don't have time. They don't know if they have time. They'll do it next month. Okay? Simple. You just invalidate the logic and put them in a box where they can't really say anything else. Okay, sweet. Well, let's break it down. How many hours do you have in the day apart from when you work, right? Do you have an hour spare a day? Yeah, I've got an hour spare. Okay, so that invalidates the logic. If you break down exactly how much time they have in terms of finances, let's say they have a lot of money, okay? Or they don't think that it's worth it. They don't see the value, okay? No worries. Well, let's say you have a guarantee of, I don't know, they can make 10K in the space of 6 months and it's a 5K product. Okay, sweet. So let's say that you 100% made 10K in the next 6 months. Do you believe that you can? Yes, 100%, based on a guarantee as well. So would it not be worth it to be able to put 5K down and almost double your money in 6 months? Would that not be a worthwhile investment? Right? It's a very, very basic example, but here what you're doing is you're literally invalidating their logic. You're breaking it down and getting rid of any logic that they think is valid in their mind, okay? And if this doesn't work, and if you clearly invalidated their logic, but it's still not getting through, that's when you can go to a more emotional level, okay? So I always start with logic and then get a bit more emotional, okay? And by emotional, I mean reframes and analogies. Now, reframes and analogies are a really good way to get your point across and make someone understand. Because in plain English, some people don't really comprehend a certain topic or a certain situation. So you want to really go over this in a reframe. So for example, good reframe that I have is for fear. Fear is good. I'll run it through with you guys now. So yeah, prospect says, it's just, I'm all over the place. This is a big decision for me. You know, it's all my hard work, savings, whatever. 100%, it's a big decision. I would even say it's, you know, a life-saving decision. Would you say what's coming up for you is, you know, a bit of nerves, a bit of fear? Yeah, not a lot. I hear you. Well, look, first time I invested in myself were 5K, right? And it was the world to me. The good news is that thing you're feeling right now, it's a good thing, right? Because there's two zones. There's the discomfort zone and there's a comfort zone, okay? What do you think happens in the comfort zone? And they say, oh yeah, not much happens, same situation, nothing changes. Okay, and what do you think happens in the discomfort zone? I level up, I get to the next level. Yeah, 100%, makes perfect sense, right? And do you feel like you can get to where you want to go, get to XYZ goal, if you carry on doing things in the comfort zone? No. Why? And it's very important to reiterate why and get them to admit why. Why do you feel that way? Oh, this, that. Okay, sweet. What happens if you carry on staying in the comfort zone for the next 3 years? Because I get it's really scary for you to make this jump. But I'm just trying to figure out, what do you feel like is going to be the result in the next 3 years if you don't do anything? This, that. Are you willing to settle for that? No. Why? And then the closing question, it comes back to ask for the sale. So what do you feel like you need to do right now so that you know that in the next 6 months you can be in a completely different situation at XYZ goal? So it's a very small analogy. It's a very small reframe, really just getting them to admit that they know they're not going to make any progress in the comfort zone, okay? And then you ask for the sale. And then you can sort of carry on doing this. If they carry on giving you objections after you ask for the sale, you can carry on invalidating their logic. And that's why it's very important to have a really strong discovery. So you have all these data points, you have all the situational awareness that you know you can hold them accountable to. Okay. A good example is, let's say in discovery, you realize that the reason someone's not really made a change in the last 6-12 months is because, you know, they've been a bit scared to invest in themselves, or they've just had analysis paralysis. Okay. And it comes here and they say they need to think about it. You can invalidate that logic by saying that, haven't you been doing that for the past 6 months, right? Haven't you been over analyzing your decisions and sort of overthinking things for the past 6 months? Right? You can sort of carry on doing this. I would say after 3, maybe 4 reframes and invalidating of logic, you should probably just leave it and just send it to a follow-up, because there is a line where you push them too hard. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And after that is, of course, the closed sale. So just to recap, temp check, it's a 2-part temp check to like double confirm, triple confirm that you've got rid of all the objections. Price drop, diffuse, probe and understanding. And this includes not assuming you know what an objection means. Like going deep and probing until you figure out 1,000% what the objection is. Isolate it, you confirm that is the objection, then you just invalidate the logic. Reframe, analogy, and then ask for the sale. Now, I have a reframe playbook, which has all of these reframes that you can use for B2C, for B2B, for different type of objections. I'm going to put it in the description of this video. So if you essentially need any help with the reframes, the objections, just download this, this document. But have a good one. If anyone doesn't know what the show rate is, which I presume quite a few of you do, the show rate is the percentage of people who show up to the call they booked in with you. Now, a decent show rate typically is anything above 70%, meaning that 7 out of 10 of the prospects that booked in a call actually show up. The more people that show up, the more deals you close, the more cash you collect, essentially the more your business does on a monthly basis. So in this training, what we're really going to be going over is a few ways that you can make sure you have a high show rate to increase the cash of your coaching business. Now, whether you're taking sales calls yourself as the founder or you have a closer hired, a good way to make sure that you have a high show rate is to confirm the attendance of the prospects for their call with you. This is the exact SOP that you should follow. Now, what you should do is you should message the prospect the night before they have their call and the morning of. This makes sure that you can confirm it the night before, get a response then, and if you don't get a response, you can just double confirm in the morning. Even if they do respond the night before, you can double confirm in the morning to make sure they're going to show. Give them the best possible chance to actually show up the call and remember it's even there. This is for the salesperson or the founder, whoever you are. A WhatsApp or an iMessage the night before saying, hey, name, Tom here from company name, just checking you're all good for our call booked in tomorrow. So for example, hey John, Tom here from loseweightacademy.com, just checking you're all good for the call you booked in tomorrow. Just pop them a WhatsApp message or an iMessage. Reason why an iMessage is the best is because people typically, based on data, reply a lot more from iMessages than a green message. Okay, it looks like a friend, so people are drawn into it straight away. And you can see if they read it or not. WhatsApp, a lot of people use, so if you're speaking to prospects overseas in different countries, you know that most people use WhatsApp as well. You can also do this on Go High Level if you want, or on your CRM or whatever you use to message prospects, but it's better to do on your personal phone. So you want to be messaging them just the night before the call. Okay, let's say the call's at 9 a.m. tomorrow or 5 p.m. tomorrow. You just message them at maybe 8 p.m., 7 p.m. the night before, or even 4 p.m. Nothing crazy. Now, the next message you want to send them is in the morning. If they've confirmed to this or if they've not confirmed to this, it doesn't matter. You still want to be sending this message. Same for the founder or the salesperson, whoever you are. Hey, name, looking forward to chatting today at X time. Do you have the Zoom link or do you need me to send it over? Right, that's pretty much just a different way of doing it, just so it doesn't look weird, you saying, hey, just confirm you're on the call today. Hey, John, looking forward to chatting today at 9 p.m. Just to confirm, have you got the Zoom link or do you need me to send it over? This is pretty much double confirming they have the Zoom link and they're reminded of the time. If they don't give you a reply, you want to just give them a call an hour before the call. Alternatively, if the setter already confirms, which likely the appointment setter is going to confirm the night before or the morning of anyway, what you want to do as the closer or the founder is send a voice note. WhatsApp or iMessage. Voice notes work wonders, especially if you're the founder, because what it does, it makes people more likely to show because they're excited for it. You know, they've had someone actually reach out to them with a personal touch, not just a message, and build up the excitement. I tend to send a voice message saying like, hey John, Tom here from company name. I saw you booked in a call on my calendar and that you have maybe a SMA background. I have the same. Got a few ideas in terms of what we can actually do to help. So I'm looking forward to chatting our call. Let me know if you need anything in the meantime. This is a slight personalization. It's just saying you've looked into their background. Maybe you have something to relate to it, or we have a few clients who are in that specific background. Got a few ideas in mind in terms of how we can help. So they think, okay, wow, I'm going to show up to that call because it's actually giving me value. They've got something that's helping my specific situation, so I'm going to show up. Right? This is so important and it works wonders, having something personalized. And it's important to have something inserted into their background, right? Whether they're in SMMA in the background, whether they're into fitness and they want to lose weight, whatever. Relate to them on a personal level so it doesn't look like you've just sent a random message that's just a template. In terms of the appointment setter, if you have an appointment setter in the DMs, which I'll be worried if you didn't, what you want to do is give them this template. You just want to pretty much do the exact same as the closer would and just confirm on the morning of the call. You don't need to do the evening because the closer can do that. You want to make sure that the appointment setter is confirming each call in their calendar for the day and say, hey name, whatever here from company name. We spoke the other day if it's a phone setter or if it's the founder, but being on the DMs, just checking you're all good for a call booked today at X time and you have the Zoom link, right? Just to double confirm. What this is going to do is just make sure that you're not letting anything fall through the cracks. Now, another way you can increase the show rate is to reduce the amount of days in advance that people can book in a call, right? The optimal time that a prospect should be allowed to book is 3 days and no longer. Let's say, for example, a prospect has a call booked in for 5 to 7 days from now. There's a few things that can happen if you book a call far in advance. First of all, the prospect's impulse and excitement can decrease dramatically, and it likely does. Second one, they might have forgotten about the call, which is a bit rare, but it definitely does happen. Third one is they might have forgotten why they booked the call in the first place. The pain might have fallen away. And the last one is they might have seen another shiny object they want to look into, a different business model or a different diet plan that makes them want to go into something else. This leads the prospect to not actually showing up to the call. So let me show you an example of how to edit this on Calendly specifically. So if you click on a specific event date or a call booking system, you want to go down to the availability and it'll say this, date range. Invitees can schedule and then you can select it 3 days into the future with at least 1 hour notice. Okay, so you just want to select this and make sure you change it to at least 3. Now, if you're absolutely booked up to hell and you've got too many prospects in the calendar, yes, you can increase this to maybe 4 or 5 and see what happens with the show rate, but ideally keep it at 3. The last way to increase show rates that I want to go over today is workflows, SMS, and email reminders. This is automated reminders that come through the booking system that you use, whether it be Calendly or Go High Level. Let me go through my workflows on Calendly. Really, really simple, right? You want to go to workflows on Calendly and you want to select add a new workflow. And what it will do is allow you to add an email reminder to the invitee and a text reminder to the invitee as well. I essentially do this 24 hours before the event starts, and for the text reminder, 1 hour before the event starts as well. They send a text and send an email. Really simple, really easy, automated. You do have to have Calendly Pro or one of the Pro features for any call booking system, but it's really good and really useful to increase the show rate. Last thing I want to go through is the importance of show rate. Let's go through this now. Let's say you have 80 booked calls in a month, right? Your offer price is 2.5K and you have a show rate of 60%, right? You do about 36K monthly. Let's say you just change one metric, the show rate, to 80%, not even 100%. Right? That is you increasing your revenue and your cash collected by 12,000 in a single month just by altering the show rate. That's how important it is. Let's say you do it to 90, right? 90% show rate, 54K from 36K. It's ridiculous. That's why it's super important to make sure you have a high show rate. If you have any questions on the show rate and you want the team to implement this, the workflows into your business, let us know on your one-to-one DM channel or on your one-to-one call. So who should you hire first, a closer or a setter? In this video, I'm going to go for exactly when you should hire an appointment setter, when you should hire a closer, and when you shouldn't, right? It's the exact same tale as what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Now, a big issue I see a lot of coaches, consultants, business owners facing is they hire at the wrong time, thinking that without actually dialing in their sales process, they can just hire a closer or a setter. It'll fix their business. It'll allow them to scale. But what ends up happening is they just come, go, they get hired, they get fired, or they just leave, not performing, and they think it's the closer or the setter's fault. So let's get straight into when you should hire an appointment setter first. Now, appointment setter is the first hire you should make in your sales team. And the reason being is because setting appointments, having conversations, and prospecting is a relatively replaceable and low leverage task. If you're doing, let's say, over 5K a month, or you have other things to focus on, last thing you should be doing is spending hours and hours every single day in the appointment setting or in the DMs or just calling people. It's not high leverage, and it's not what you should be focused on to scale the business. Okay. Now, your goal should be to buy back your time so you can focus on taking more sales calls, right? Content, or starting to run paid ads, or just creating new creative for the paid ads, service delivery, and getting client results, right? And you want to find someone who's better than you at appointment setting. Yes, you may be really good at what you do, delivering your service, but you're likely not the best at appointment setting, right? There's probably someone better. So you want to find someone who's going to get a better return than you, all right? Now, in terms of how do you know if you're ready to hire one, there's a few things you should focus on. But the first thing is you've got to have consistent daily lead flow. There's no point hiring an appointment setter if you don't have at least 20 to 30 new leads per day, because the appointment setter is going to be bored. It's not going to have anything to actually do, right? Either from organic or from paid marketing, right? Make sure that the setter can actually work and not run out of prospects. Second pointer you should look for to know that you're ready to actually hire an appointment setter is if your calendar is underbooked, but your close rate is pretty decent, right? If you've got leads, right, if you've got that sorted, your close rate is pretty decent, anything above 25 to 30%, but your calendar's underbooked, likely you probably need to get appointment setter on board, right? Because if you're struggling with getting book calls, but you have enough leads, it means you're probably not doing a good job, right? So a setter, what they can do is fill in the gap by qualifying leads, converting conversations, and turn them into bookings. So you can just focus on the sales calls even more. Right. Next one is you spend too much time prospecting. If you're spending more than 2-3 hours a day messaging leads instead of focusing on sales calls or content, paid ads, or the higher leverage tasks, then you need to hire an appointment setter. Like I said, best thing you can do when you're getting past that 5K a month mark is delegate, right? Delegate and get someone else to do the grunt work or the work that you don't want to do, that you can focus on different things. Right. Next one is something we work with our clients a lot, and it's the biggest mistake people make in the coaching space, in the service-based business space, and they don't have a proven process, right? You have to have clear scripts, systems in place, making sure that they can actually follow a repeatable process that converts leads. You can't just hire an appointment setter and say, okay, off you pop, use your knowledge to just get appointments. It's not how it works, because every offer is different. So what I would say is make sure that your process is repeatable. Make sure that you have a set process that you can use with setting appointments, a set script or a set framework that you know is going to book an appointment, right? So that when an appointment setter comes in, you can give them the process, it's repeatable, they don't have to just reinvent the wheel and do something themselves. Also, you're ready to scale, right? If your pipeline is ready to handle more calls, if you know that you're closing at a decent amount, your offer is validated, you know you can generate results, only thing you need is just more calls, right? And you've got the leads, hire an appointment setter, right? Like if you are confident you could take on more clients, you're confident you can take more calls, do it, right? Hire that appointment setter. And I have another video going through the payment structure you should focus on hiring appointment setters, but I would typically go for 3 to 5%, probably 5% on all cash collected from their sets, plus a base of $500 to $1,000. Because if you don't have a base and you have fairly low cash collected each month, an appointment setter is not going to earn much money and they're going to leave, or you're not going to hire good quality appointment setters. But the moral of the story, if you're not consistently generating 20 plus leads every single day, focus on building the lead flow, whether it be through organic, whether it be through automated outbound, which is something we do as well, or paid ads. But let's get into the juicy stuff. Closer. how to know if you should hire a closer. Now, this is a bit more of a touchy, sensitive task, right? Because if you don't have the right systems and infrastructure in place or the right onboarding, then your closers are going to fail. And this is the exact same thing as putting glitter on a shit, right? You're not going to make it smell nicer. You're not going to make it look nicer. It's still going to be a shit. So, yeah, I can't go over that one. I'm pretty proud of that one. But what systems and infrastructure do I mean? Because it's all good me saying you've got to have the systems, infrastructure, but if I don't go into depth, you guys are probably not going to know what I mean. So first one is a clear and proven sales process, right? This is pretty vague, but the founder must be closing above 25 to 30%. Reason being is because, actually, I'll get into that in a second. The founder must be closing above 25 to 30%, right? The founder must be able to close. Main issue I see a lot of coaches, consultants, service-based business is they don't really like sales. They're not that good at sales. So they just hire a closer first, even when they've not proven the sales process, right? They've not actually got a repeatable sales process like the appointment setting side of things. So you as the founder, or the founder has to be closing above 25 to 30%. If not, don't hire a closer. Simple as that. Next one, show up rate must be above 60 to 70%, right? If you're getting less than 6 people out of 10 showing up to your sales calls, you have an issue with your show up process. You have an issue with your sales process. You need to fix that before getting a closer on board. Because if they're getting so many calls booked into their calendar, but not many people are showing up, they're going to leave. They're not going to be happy. Next one is 70+% of leads must be qualified. You have to have these leads qualified, right? Because if they're not, you're going to get some annoyed closers and you're going to be wasting time. Okay. CRM and data tracker for follow-up. Follow-up 30-40% as I go on in every single video of my follow-up. And sorry, my income when I was a closer was from follow-up, right? So if you don't have a good CRM, if you don't have a clean CRM or data tracker, you're not going to be able to get this money from follow-up. Last one, like I've gone over, repeatable onboarding process. Look, if you can't repeatably show a closer or a setter what to do, have SOPs in place, have training in place every single time you onboard them, then it's going to be carnage. They're not going to know what to do. And this is the exact same process we go through when we take on clients with systemized scaling. We build them out the sales process, the onboarding process, close rate, lead quality, show up rate, follow-up process. Once that's built out and you're closing at 30 to 50%, you've got warm leads, you've added 30% in monthly cash, we onboard a closer, we guide you in terms of how to actually structure the onboarding, and then we build out the sales process, right, in terms of the infrastructure, automations, data tracker. Just before I move on, if any of you want our team to build your vehicle into a top tier sales process, have closers and setters hired in place for you and onboarded for you, or to have me personally help train your reps, then book a call below and check out the free training going for exactly what we do. On to the next part. So with closers, how to know if you're actually ready to hire one, right? Lots of people get this wrong. You've got to be booking at least 25 plus sales calls a month. And I'd say this is probably on the low end. If you're not booking consistent calls, I'd say 5 to 10 calls every single week, then your closer's not going to be able to earn the money they want and they're going to leave, right? So a closer thrives with consistent opportunities. You've got to make sure you have that for them. If you don't have that, focus on building lead flow or just hiring a setter first. Second one is you're closing at a consistent 25+% closing rate. And the reason being is the business owner has something called the founder syndrome. I forgot for a second. Founder syndrome, where essentially they can sort of get away with anything. They can get away with a mediocre pitch, mediocre sales process, mediocre framework, and still close at decent amounts because they've got the social proof, they're on the marketing. Meaning, if the founder closes at 20 to 25% max, a closer is going to close at 10, 15, maximum 20, right? So if you're not closing at a decent amount, your closer's not either. They're not going to just fix things. They're not going to just come in and just get you to 100K a month. It's not how it works. You've got to focus on the vehicle first and the sales process first. Next one is sales calls are taking too much of your time. If you're spending plus 10 hours a week, hire a closer. If you are booked out on your calendar 3 days in advance, right? If your calendar's booked out 3 days in advance maximum, hire a closer, right? Because you're packed out. You're generating 15 to 20K a month consistently. Reason why this is important is because your closer's got to earn money. 10% commission of 5 to 10K, it's not going to be enough for them. Like, they're not going to stay. You're not going to attract good quality closers. So you're going to make sure you're doing at least 15 to 20K. So you can maybe give them a base, or you could just get maybe a decent closer for 2K, 3K, 4K a month. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. You've got to have predictable lead flow and systems. So look, to wrap things up, you should be booking 4 to 5 calls a week. Show rate should be above 70%. And if you don't have a strong appointment setter or system to qualify leads, then you shouldn't hire a closer. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how you can use AI to improve your coaching business's lead quality. Now, if you're not utilizing AI in your business, you're missing out on so much potential. And time again, with different clients and different people in the info space I've been speaking to, they've been complaining about lead quality, bad lead quality. And what it does is it comes down to lack of data and lack of insights on what's actually going on calls, what your ICP actually wants. So I'm just going to go through a few automations and a few setups to show you how you can get more data and you can figure out what the lead quality is and how to improve it. Okay, so it all starts with collecting data from sales calls. What I do is I use a platform called Fathom. Okay, Fathom pretty much records all of the transcripts and all of the sales calls from your sales team. And I have 2 separate automations that, first of all, collects all of the transcripts from Fathom, filters them into specific conditions based on only sales calls, not team meetings, etc. And then uses ChatGPT to pretty much summarize the transcripts based on pain points, goals, motivators, demographic clues, and objections. Okay, really important, because if you get all of this data and you get a collection of all the sales calls, pain points, goals, motivators, objections, you can start making content based on this bit of data, based on who's actually coming onto the calls and what your marketing is actually attracting. Okay, so you can speak to them better, you can get them warmer, right? So here is the prompt. You are a marketing specialist that is to analyze sales calls transcripts and generate real-time insights to help the marketing accuracy of a business. From the following sales transcript, summarize the prospect's pain points, goals, motivators, objections, and demographic info, if any is mentioned, in clear bullet points. Format it like this, and then you input the transcripts from Fathom. And then here's a bit more extra in terms of how to actually format it in JSON, which is a specific type of code language. Okay. Put it into ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo, because this is a lot cheaper than ChatGPT 4. And then maybe a bit of insight in terms of the assistant instructions. Then you've got to put it through a code by Zapier step, and then input it into a Google Sheet. Okay, and what this is going to do, it's pretty much going to use all the JSON, all of the coding language to specifically fill it into each part of the Google Sheet. So what you'll have is a massive Google Sheet based on all the pain points of the last 7 days of calls. Let's say you take 100 sales calls with your sales team, all of the pain points, all of the summarized objections in this Google Sheet. Now, this logs all of the pain points in a specific manner, but what you want to do is you want to summarize this, right? You want to send an update to your client or in your Slack channel. This is what I do, whether it be your own business or a client you have, and you want to summarize all of these pain points. And here's where the second automation comes in. Okay, I blurred out the name because it's got client-specific information, and you essentially want to schedule this every single week, and I schedule it on a Sunday at 10 a.m. Right? So what it's going to do is going to get all of this spreadsheet. It's going to get all of the data in the spreadsheet, and it's going to run the code to specifically format it. And then you're going to put it through ChatGPT to essentially summarize it and make the average of all of it. Okay, so you're acting as a marketing specialist, reviewing sales calls from the last 7 days. From the following data, identify the most frequent recurring insights across all calls, group them similar themes together, prioritize what came up most and the most often. Avoid focusing on one-off cases, right? Goal is to produce a clean Slack message that could be posted under the weekly marketing insights title. Okay. So this is how it's going to format it. And I'll show you in a second what it actually looks like, what information it gives. So important. Then you just want to send a Slack message. I won't show you that because it's specific for a client. You want to send a Slack message, automated, every single week to tell the business owners, or if you're the business owner, tell you what is coming up on sales calls, because of course you can't be on the sales calls every single day, and what to change in the marketing. So here's what it actually looks like. Here's what comes out. So this is specific for an Amazon FBA coaching offer, and it's telling the business owners what they need to change. And let me just edit that. What they need to change and what's working well, what the current objections are and what to make content on. For example, if you see X amount of objections, you can just make YouTube videos and content that's going to handle this. And in the appointment setting process, you can send that over to your prospects to handle that before they jump on the call. So let's go through it. Most common pain points. This was only a few days worth of data, so probably will be a bit niche. Difficulty scaling past 100 units a month in Amazon FBA. Financial constraints, overwork and stress from managing multiple jobs, responsibilities. So as you can see, you can speak to, after a few weeks worth of insight, you can speak to this ICP. You can speak to this type of prospect because you have the data. Most common goals, exactly the same. You can speak to these goals, speak to these desires. Okay, core motivators, same thing. Recurring objections, concern about the coaching service's value and effectiveness, hesitation due to past negative experiences, financial risk, preference and clarity on brand building before investing, uncertainty about the timing and availability of funds, right? So you can make YouTube videos, sales assets, objection handling assets to send over in the appointment setting process or in the pre-call process and handle these objections. Do you guys see how important this is? Having the data to be able to respond and make marketing content for this, right? Demographic patterns, who is actually jumping on calls, age, where they're from, etc. What language to use. Overall prospect sentiment, generally positive but cautious. You can see if it's good, badly, quality, etc. And then it's actually giving you specific marketing recommendations, right? So it's actually telling you exactly what you should change in marketing to be able to tailor to this specific person. So if you do this for a few weeks, even just for a few weeks, right, you make iterations based on what it tells you, what's popping up on sales calls, you can craft your whole marketing campaign, you can craft your whole marketing message to make it so easy for your prospects to want to buy because you're speaking directly to them. Now, if this helps, drop me a message on Instagram and we can see if we can help build this for you. If you want the prompt, also drop me a message on Instagram. Alternatively, if you want me to build one of these automations, if you want me to build all of these systems and make sure that your sales team is collecting as much as possible, performing at the best possible rate, you want us to hire closers for you, place them on board, them setters, then either book in a call below or just head to my website and we'll see if we can help. Have a beautiful day and yeah, let's crush it. What's going on? So in this video, I'm going to be walking through exactly how you can create your own automated AI sales coach to coach your sales team without you having to even be there. Now, in managing a sales team, with being a business owner, leverage is so important. And if you already manage a sales team yourself, then you probably know that call reviews take a lot of your time. And if you're not monitoring your reps, if you're not training them and giving them feedback, then they're going to just stagnate and lose deals and lose money for the business. So what I've done is I've pretty much got all of my knowledge, all of my skill set in terms of sales, in terms of objection handling, in terms of the discovery side of things, and put it into a custom AI GPT so that whenever I'm not around or whenever I can't give feedback, a sales rep can go in, copy their sales transcript on the call recorder, put it into this custom GPT and get feedback like they were speaking to me. Now, this is a very, very good example of getting leverage and really just delegating yourself. And I'm not saying that you can't do any call reviews manually anymore, but this probably saves 90% of the manual work that you would have to do. So let's get straight to it. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to go to ChatGPT, Claude, or whatever AI software you're using. And you want to go to the internet browser version. It doesn't work on the app. Got to go to the internet browser version. First thing you want to do is you want to go to this little profile section here. You want to go to My GPTs and you want to go to Create Custom GPT. Okay, I'll show you the one that I created. Just click Edit or click Create. And the prompt, the instruction is very, very, very important because if this is just off, then it's not going to work. And you have to keep on tweaking this and seeing what the result is based on what you want to see. Okay, so I will pretty much go through what I prompted the custom GPT to do, and I'll go through the knowledge as well. So I've pretty much given it a ton of PDFs, ton of documents based on my objection handling framework, my sales framework, a few different variations of my sales framework, cheat sheet, absolutely everything that the GPT should know about how I like to sell. You know, the type of tonality, the type of approach I like to take, the type of structure I like to use in the discovery, the pitch, the objection handling, setting the frame, what a good sales call looks like, what a bad sales call looks like. I'm giving it as much information as possible, and I'm keeping on feeding it ongoing what it needs to know in terms of what it's looking for. So I pretty much filtered into the knowledge, all these PDFs, and the instructions as the prompt. Let's go to the prompt. So the prompt is as follows. You are a high ticket B2C sales coach reviewing calls for a coaching / mentorship offer. Your role is to help our reps improve performance without overwhelm. This is about coaching, not critiquing. Use Tom's sales call framework as the foundation, layered with the founder's ethos, and focus on what actually moves the needle in closing more deals. Be honest and direct, but constructive. Prioritize clear wins and simple adjustments over perfectionism. We're coaching humans, not grading essays. Okay, so as you can see, it's really important to give it the right prompts and make sure it doesn't micromanage. All right, review the rep's ability to follow the structure, any version. The rep should follow a logical, complete flow, and it's pretty much looking at all of the documents I've attached. It's giving the version of the structure of the sales call, current situation, problem awareness, solution awareness, desired situation, etc. What to look for. Did they complete each phase with intention? Any parts rushed, skipped, or left shallow? Don't nitpick structure, really important. Probing and discovery. I noticed that it's really important that reps probe in discovery and actually figure out what the real pain point is, as opposed to just assuming what they actually think it is. So look for 2 to 3 specific meaningful pain points, clarity on what's the pain, why it's happening, what's the emotional or practical impact. What to avoid is surface level answers being accepted, assumptions like I just said, and rushing into the pitch too early. Give time-stamped feedback where the rep could have gone deeper, plus sample rewrites or phrasing. All right, number 3 is the tailored type pitch. When I come into sales teams, main reason of a low close rate or low average order value is because usually the pitch is too featured based and it's too long, right? I've come into teams and it's been 30 minutes long, which is just wild. So I want to make sure this pitch is tailored to the prospect's goals, pain, and situation. It's within 8 to 15 minutes max, and it focuses on the transformation, not the features, and it anchors the find, launch, and scale method as to what they actually want. Okay? Watch out for feature dumping, generic copy and paste pitches, long-winded monologues with no engagement. Objection handling. Good reps should not be combative whatsoever and always be relaxed at objection handling. Get to the real objection. Don't settle for surface level answers. Use emotionally intelligent, calibrated questions. Try to close on the call when reasonable. Offer deposits only if the prospect is emotionally in and the only blocker is logistics. Okay, one call closes are the priority. If the call could have been closed, call that out. You know, if a follow-up was genuinely needed, explain why, but we do not book follow-ups by default. No, let them go think about it unless it's unavoidable. Don't allow looped ejections and dead-end word tracks being used over and over again, lazy deposit offers, vague follow-ups, combative, almost argumentative objection handling that could give the prospects sales resistance. Full stop. Actually, no. Objection handling should almost be working together, not butting heads. If the sales rep was acting desperate for the sale, and being combative, suggest pointers on how they could have framed it in a more relaxed, non-desperate way. CTA and next step, really important to leave it on a good CTA and next step. Okay, payment, deposit, or follow-up. No, I need to think about it with nothing locked in. A bit about my coaching style, focus on 1 to 2 high leverage improvements. The founder's ethos, go deep on pain, no assumptions, pitch clearly, no deposits unless prospects fully in. Okay, so what I've got here is a test, a transcript from a sales call for a team I'm managing. So I'm going to paste it into here, simple as that. and let's see what it comes out with. Okay, so as you can see, it rated the score out of 82 out of 100. This was a strong, high empathy, trust building call with excellent rapport and effective discovery. That said, a few high leverage improvements could make it more efficient and increased a conversion likelihood, especially enticing the pitch and being more decisive around the close. What worked well? Depth in discovery, timestamps, trust and rapport, framing the offer as a path to freedom, on point. Coaching opportunities, high leverage fix. Pitch went too long and lacked tight framing, right? The pitch began around X timestamp and dragged over 20 minutes. This is not good. Too feature heavy, needed to be more outcome driven and tailored to Luke's goals. Suggested fix, and it gives a fix in terms of the specific pitch. Objection handling, could have pushed for the close. He was an 8 to 9 out of 10 buyer on the temp check, had 5 to 6K invest. Said this combo was a kick up the arse and was emotionally in, but once the money/time objection came in, Michael leaned out instead of using the 4-step objection handling structure. Timestamps as well. And it gives him what he should have done instead: disarming, confirm buy-in, reframing, suggested close, tells him exactly where he should have gone in for the close, final score breakdown, rating, so it says exactly where he could have improved on. In this case, pitch and objection handling and CTA. Okay, priority fixes. So really, really, really useful when sales reps are just coming to this and pretty much just seeing exactly what they need to improve on. Okay, now if you want to share this with your sales rep, your team, you want to update every time you update something here, and just share it with them. Okay, and every single time they have a sales call, they can literally just review it for themselves. Now, one thing I'm doing also is I've hooked this up to Slack or Discord, wherever your team is managed and they communicate on. So every single time a transcript comes out on Fathom, it automatically goes to this and then pings into Slack. So it just completely automates the review process. Okay, so in this video, I'm literally going to be laying out A to Z how to build and structure a 7 and 8 figure sales process and sales team. It's going to be a very raw video. I'm just going to be spitting off the dome based on a few notes and a few sections that are really important to cover. And I'm just going to be doing it completely raw. So here we go. So first things first, you want to go through phase 1, which is infrastructure and foundations. You've got to have that dialed in before you even scale and before you add closes. So first thing is CRM setup. Pipeline stages specifically. Pipeline stages and call update notes. When you click on a specific opportunity or a specific contact or a specific lead, you want a section that has the notes of the call. Okay, so that 6 months time, closers can come back, look at the notes, look at where they are in the pipeline stages and have full context on where to pick up from. Alternatively, on the pipeline stages, they've got to be detailed and not vague. I come into a lot of teams and they just have closed, follow-up, no-show call taken, right? That's just stupid, right? What you want to have is detailed sections so you know exactly where someone is and where to go from priority to least priority. So I typically have offer made, waiting for answer, or book call, of course, no-show, call closed, deposit, follow-up call booked, short-term follow-up, medium-term follow-up, long-term follow-up, bad fit, unqualified, so that I know exactly where to go from priority to non-priority. Okay, so that's very, very vague overview of the CRM side of things. Automations is really important because as a manager, as a business owner, you don't want to be spending hours and hours and hours reminding reps, seeing where the data is and seeing how many book calls, etc. So you want to have automations set up for reminders for closers to do end of day reports, updates, automations that ping into Slack or Discord or wherever you host your communication for your company on every single update and all the details on what's happened on the call, updates on end of day reports, updates whenever a call is booked, updates whenever there's been a payment come in, absolutely everything, all right? Next one is data tracking. I use Airtable specifically, and the main metrics I'm tracking is close rate, average order value, show rate, cash collected installments, total cash collected, cash percentage as well, which is the percentage of cash collected on a deal as opposed to the full revenue of a deal. Okay, so how much are we resulting to payment plans? How much are we actually collecting upfront? So I usually have end of day reports that automate to Slack and update Slack in terms of what was submitted, and it pulls into Airtable. I have a dashboard and I have sheets that go over absolutely everything for the week, for the month, for the day. Okay, next one is pricing and average order value strategy. Average order value is a big issue that a lot of sales teams struggle with. They have a very low average order value. And this essentially comes up to what you're pricing your offers at and sales team training. We're going to go through the sales team training shortly. But what you're pricing your offers at, usually a good telltale sign of if you need to up your prices is if you have a closing rate higher than 35%. You probably need, but you have a low average order value, you probably need to increase the price. Okay. So usually with high ticket B2C sales, an average order value over 2.5K is decent. Any less than that, maybe you need to work on lead flow, lead quality side of things, or the actual pricing of your offer. Coffee sip break. Okay, so that's average order value and offer side of things. Upsells and monetization in terms of referrals. Upsells really, really important because the easiest person to close is someone who is already closed, right? So very important to have some form of upsell package or some form of way to add LTV to your customers. Okay, so usually how I structure this is if I get someone on a downsell, I'm going to get all the closers to book in a 30-day check-in call or a 2-week check-in call, depending on the offer, see how they're gone, see if they need any more support, and then potentially upsell them onto the higher package. Or depending on the offer, again, appointment setters can do this in the DMs as well. Okay, next one is follow-up systems. Follow-ups, really, really important, and it ties into the CRM structure as well in terms of the pipeline stages. Really important because if you give the closers structure and if you give them order, it's a lot easier to set the follow-up. So typically, I get closers to do 3 pipeline blocks every single week. They block out on their calendar Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, an hour long, so they can sift through absolutely everything in terms of their pipeline from most prioritized to least prioritized. And they can go into the notes, they can see what happened on the call, what they need to reply with. Usually I just get them to dial them. Okay. Instead of just messaging them, I'm getting them to actually call the leads up, double dialing them. Okay. And in terms of the follow-up side of things, really important. When I was a closer, I brought in probably around 30-40% of all the income I generated for businesses from follow-up. At least 2 deals a week coming in from follow-up. So really, really important. Also on Google Calendar, they can set the tasks at the start of the day, and every single time they jump off a call, I'm getting closers to go to maybe the time that they said they were going to follow up with and set the task. Okay, so it actually reminds them, and it's not like, okay, oh yeah, I need to follow up with this person. It's actually systemized and they've got reminders in place. Okay, and the last one in terms of infrastructure and foundations is you got to be using AI in your business if you want to leverage yourself. Okay, yes, call reviews are good with sales reps, but you're not going to be there all the time, especially as a manager. I'm a busy guy, right? So I'm not always going to be there. So what I've done is I've put all of my sales knowledge in PDFs, in documents, in transcripts, and I put it into a custom GPT, a custom AI call reviewer, which has absolutely everything in terms of how I think of sales. Okay. It rates the call out of 1 to 100, gives them good points, bad points, what they need to improve on. So all sales reps need to do is just copy their call transcripts, paste it into, the AI call review, and it gives them a feedback and it gives them actionable steps. Okay, so you want to be implementing that. Let me know if you need me to implement that or just give you a bit of advice on how to do it in the DMs on Instagram. Phase two, we're absolutely blowing through this. Phase 2 is hiring and team build out. Now, hiring closers, this is probably the biggest thing a lot of people struggle, hiring good closers. And you got to know what to look for, the character, tonality, proof, experience, absolutely everything. And what not to look for. I usually go for hire slow and fire fast. Okay, the ethos, because you don't want to be gatekeeping and just holding a sales rep that isn't performing and isn't a good fit. So when hiring closers, what you want to look for is energy. You want to look for someone who actually has that energy, wants to win, and wants to rock and roll. Okay, you don't want someone who's deflated, who's got an ego and just doesn't have that energy. You want someone who has charisma, who has energy, who you know is going to jump on calls and going to infect prospects with the good energy. That's really, really, really important. Also, experience is very important, but mainly experience in the specific business model or specific sector. Reason being is if they don't have experience, that's fine, but it's going to take them a lot longer to learn the product knowledge, learn the terminology and all the specific. So ideally, if you're selling an Amazon FBA offer or a venture capital offer or a trading offer, you want someone ideally who has experience in that specific business model. Okay. And then next is experience in sales. Okay. Ideally B2C or B2B, whatever you're selling, you want someone that suits that. because there's different personality types for people who suit for different things. Okay, so you want energy, you want experience in the specific business model, experience in high ticket sales as well, but that's not really important because you can get people who don't really have experience in high ticket sales, but they have experience in sales and they have that charisma. Okay, very tasty. Yeah, so hiring closers, you want to make sure you're onboarding them and you have an onboarding that ramps them up in 7 to 14 days. Usually, how I onboard closers is I have an onboarding pack that I use for every single client that has the relevant product knowledge, the relevant post call process, everything in terms of the brand owners, the brand, the offers, everything, the pitch deck, all in one document. I'm going to give it to the closer so they can go over. And the first thing that I'm going to get them to focus on is the pitch and the product knowledge. The structure, the sales call stuff doesn't really matter because they should already know that. But the main number one thing you want to focus on when onboarding a closer is product knowledge and the pitch, because that is one of the most important things to convey value. Okay, so I'm getting them to drill that. In the first 7 days, they're not jumping on calls. And what they're doing is they're jumping on 3 to 4 one-to-one calls with myself. They're shadowing the top closer. They're watching their core reviews. And if you don't have a top closer and you have average closer, you want to train them yourself. Okay, so I'm jumping on calls with them, mainly practicing the pitch, practicing role plays, going through specific questions, testing them on product knowledge. Then when I feel like they're ready, typically after the first 7 days, or it could be sooner, I'm going to get them on around 3 to 4 calls a day. I don't want to waste calls on them. I don't want to waste money, but I'm going to get them on 3 to 4 calls a day. And I'm going to review one call every single day. All right, I'm going to monitor them very closely. KPIs in the first 14 days of taking calls should be around 10 to 15% close rate. Nothing crazy, right? They're ramping up. Okay. Then after the first 28 days, typically after the first 50 live calls is when you can judge if they're a good closer, if they're actually a good fit, if they're going to succeed in this offer or not. Okay. So 50 live calls, there should be at least that KPI at 20%. Okay. After the first 7 to 14 days of calls, I'm analyzing where they're at, if they can have more calls, if they're on track, if they're closing at a decent rate. I'm going to get them on full-time calls. Okay, so really important to give them the right onboarding documents, the right support, and give them the right training in the first 14 to 28 days. Okay, really important. Now, offboarding closers, when you should cut is when you don't have enough lead flow and you want to prioritize different reps. I usually put people on the bench if they're a decent rep, but there's not enough lead flow for them. I'm going to put a closer on the bench and then keep them, maybe put them on the dialing team, the setting team, or recommending them for a different offer, but getting them back on board when we have more lead flow. But I want to prioritize the main reps first, make sure they have a full calendar versus 3 or 4 closers have not too many calls and availability in the calendar. I want to prioritize the 2 or 3 or 1 top closer and give them all the calls as opposed to lows just having a little bit of calls. Okay. Another reason why you would offboard is not a good culture fit. If they're not a good culture fit, if they're not doing the render day reports, not doing their updates, not showing up to team meetings, and they don't want it as much as you in terms of getting better, improving their skill set, making more money, then probably not a good culture fit. You don't want someone to bring down the culture and jeopardize the values of the company, okay, and the sales team. That's very brief on offboarding closers as well. Hiring appointment setters and dialers is a tough one because you've got to have the right compensation structure and you've got to have the right people. Usually these type of people are people who are hungry, maybe fairly young. They want some form of progression. And they want to make at least 1.5 to 2K at least. Okay. So where you want to find that best way is through referrals. And it's the same with referrals as well with closers. To find closers and setters, typically you want to ask good closers and setters if they know anyone. Referrals first. Okay. And then you want to go into communities. You want to ask sales managers. You want to ask business owners, high ticket sales communities, business communities, entrepreneurship communities, and put the feelers out there. Okay. Typically, if you're really struggling, you can hire recruiters, but it can be costly and a lot of them are shit. Okay. Or if you have a sales manager, they could just do it for you. All right. Now, in terms of setters and dialers, red flags to avoid is people who have side gigs, people who have different offers, people who are looking for just a get rich quick scheme, people who are looking to progress very fast because then they're going to be a setter or a dialer for a month and then want to go into closing. Okay. So you want someone who's fairly early in the journey, who wants to learn and really wants to get to the next level and just commit to learning a skill for at least 6 months. All right. Beautiful. Now, onboarding setters, okay? Exact same as the closer side of thing. You want to have SOPs in terms of product knowledge, in terms of the framework you want to use, in terms of the different terminology in the specific offer. And you just want to review their conversations or calls every single day. All right, go through test conversations with them, jump into the DMs, get them to share their screen and run through how you would actually answer conversations and you would tackle things. You don't want to give them all the answers. You want to ask them what they think they should reply, because that is a very good way to get people to think for themselves. Next one is availability and coverage. Availability and coverage is really important for closers. As a sales manager or a business owner, you need to have a good pulse in how much availability is in the calendar and what availability your closers have. Okay, so you don't want closers who are all part-time unless they're a really good closer and they've got a specific reason for it. But you want to make sure that you are booked out for at least 2 days in advance, 1 to 2 days in advance. If you don't have any availability at all and you're fully booked up, you probably want to hire another closer or just utilize your current closers and ask them to increase their availability. Instead of hiring a closer, you want to work with what you've got and you want to ask them their availability and potentially close them on doing more hours, whether it be a Saturday, a Sunday, whether it be later hours in the week. But that's how you get more availability and coverage. You just want to be making sure that you have enough availability for the amount of leads that you have through in the pipeline. Phase 3 is performance and optimization. Now, sales call reviews, how often, what to look for, and how to actually run them. Sales call reviews really depend on the caliber of your sales team. If you have a sales team that's closing at 20, 25%, even 30%, you probably still want to be doing sales call reviews. You probably still want to be doing sales call reviews for your sales team, even if they're crushing it, right? Because there's a very natural cycle of sales reps getting decent close rate, thinking they're good enough to do core reviews, not doing core reviews, getting down, and it's sort of like an endless cycle of getting better, not training, getting worse, training, getting better. Do you know what I mean? So what you want to be doing is at least doing 2 core reviews for each sales rep each week. Ideally more, ideally every single day, but if you don't have time, at least 2 every single week, just to gauge what the needle movers are, and then you bring it up in your one-to-one calls with those sales reps, okay? What to look for is you don't want to bombard them with advice and loads of needle movers because it just overwhelms them. You want to focus on 2, maybe 3 needle movers at max, okay? What they need to focus on, and you want to look for if they respond in their next team meeting or the next one-to-one and they actually improve. That's a good green flag. Red flag is if they don't improve and they keep on making the same mistakes. Now, next one is the close rate optimization. You want to make sure you're closing at least 20% with your sales team, at least 20%. Any more than that, great. Any less than that, that is a very big red flag. 20% is the bare minimum, depending on the offer, depending on the funnel. Okay, so key levers to pull fast is pitch. The pitch shouldn't be any longer than 10, 12 minutes. Okay, is it featured based? Is it too long? Is it very unengaging? If it is, you want to restructure it. Okay, next one is temp check. Temp check is really important in terms of filtering out objections. After they pitch, are they just going into the price, or are they doing a good temp check, filtering out if they have any objections, if there's any concerns? Okay, objection handling process. A big one is actually probing in the discovery. You want to make sure your reps are actually probing, asking deeper questions, not just in the discovery side of things, but in objection handling. You want to make sure they're taking time. Calls are around 30 to 45 minutes, potentially longer, no less than that. And they're actually taking the time to hold people accountable, do a good temp check, good pitch that's not too featured based and it's more outcome based, and it's not too long as well. Okay, now the next lever to pull in terms of close rate is follow-up as well. Follow-up can really increase closers' close rate, so you want to make sure that they are doing their pipeline blocks and they are actually being held accountable for reaching out to referrals, reaching out to all the pipeline, getting people on calls. Yeah, and energy is a big one as well. You want to make sure reps are showing up to calls with energy and not like they have got a face like a slap task. That's a very big red flag. Now, sales training and systems. I typically do 5 group team training sessions every single week and 3 appointment setting training sessions every single week. Now, if you have a good self-sufficient team that doesn't really need loads of training, they're closing above 30%, you can do 3 a week, 45-minute slots, but 5, and I'm going through probably 50% live call reviews with my sales reps, and then 50% I'm going through role plays, specific things that I'm seeing in call reviews that we need to work on. Okay, so the cadence is wins to get the energy up, announcements, specific things going on in the company, and then training. Okay, training, like I said, either call reviews, going over the good things, and sometimes the bad things. You want to be careful with that in front of other reps. Okay, and of course, role plays with the reps, and you as the manager or the business owner can do some role plays as well, just to show how it is done. Get back in the trenches. Um, Individual management. I typically, like I said, I have one-to-one with each rep every single week. If they need a bit more support, I'm happy to do more. But I typically touch base with sales reps every single day at the end of the day, right? You want to have a good pulse because sales reps don't really tell you everything. So you want to be in the weeds and see what's going on with lead flow, with how they're feeling, with, if they're happy or not. Really, really, really important. So I'm checking up with the sales reps every single day after calls. Okay. Last one in terms of performance, a big one is financing. Right, you want to make sure that you're utilizing everything with financing with your offer, whether it be Klarna, whether it be Affirm, whether it be fan bases have it's a payment processor that have a lot of financing options and credit cards that closers can utilize, like Amex Blue. Right, that's the last on the performance and optimization. Very brief, by the way. Culture and leadership is phase 4. Culture and leadership is by far one of the most important things when managing a sales team. What is your sales team culture like? Do you have a winning sales team? Do you have a energetic sales team? Or is it boring, micromanaging? All you do is talk about work. What I want is a sales team that actually get on with each other, that actually like each other, that come onto the team meeting. We don't just talk about work. We're laughing. We're having a joke. We've got energy, right? If a sales rep is late, I'll do something like make them do 20 press ups, right? And everyone will absolutely love it when someone comes late because they have to do 20 press ups and they can all mock them for doing it. Right? So really important to have that energetic culture. And this is really what's going to drive performance, right? Accountability. I like my sales reps to call people out, right? If they're just being pushovers, I call that out, right? Because if we have a sales team full of winners who call people out, hold people accountable, then everyone's going to be on their absolute best. Your sales team is a direct reflection to you as a manager and as a business owner. So if you don't call people out, if you don't hold people accountable, if you don't operate at a high standard, your sales team isn't going to either. So that's a very, very, very important part to focus on. Prioritization in certain CRMs like Go High Level, HubSpot, all that, you can and Calendly, you can prioritize reps. So you want to be prioritizing the reps who are the most invested and performing the best. Okay, so you can give them the most calls, the most calendar availability. Incentives, really important one. It really depends on the economics of your business, but typically I like to do, if they collect over 60K in new cash, not payment plans, new cash, then they get 12% and not 10%. Okay, or you can do an actual cash bonus, but incentives are really important. You don't know what a rep will do at the end of the month, the last 5 days, if they're 20 grand off their incentive and they want to make it work. They will dial people, they'll go for the pipeline, they'll do absolutely everything. All right. Last one on culture and leadership is when to step in. Now, you don't want to be a micromanager. You don't want to be someone who just answers all the questions and just lets reps just ask them every question under the sun. You want them to be self-sufficient. So when reps are asking you questions, when they're asking you for things, you don't always want to answer them. You want to ask them what they would do, right? If I wasn't here, what would you do? Okay, what do you think the answer is? And then they'll get in the habit of just doing things themselves. Okay. And one of the last thing to go over is scaling without chaos. Phase 5. Show rate fixes is a big bottleneck, and in B2C, it should typically be between 60-65%. 65 is great in B2C, like the high ticket biz op space. B2B, probably a bit more, 70%-ish, 65-70%. So if your show rate's anything under 60%, you might have an issue. It's not the end of the world, but you might have an issue. Okay, so things I'm looking to do to increase the show rate is calendar availability timeframe. So no more than 2 to 3 days in advance, your calendar should be available to be booked in with. You want to have workflows, SMS and email workflows for confirming calls for people who book in. And potentially you want to have someone 5 minutes after they book in or as soon as possible after a lead books in, calling them up, confirming them, okay? Because the show rate on people confirming is ridiculous as opposed to the show rate to people not confirming, okay? And ideally, as a bonus, you want closers to reach out as well and build that relationship, maybe send over some pre-call material before the call. That's pretty cool. Worst case scenario, if you have enough lead flow, you've got enough scale, is double booking. If someone doesn't confirm within 24 hours, and there are automations you can set up for this, if someone doesn't confirm a call within 24 hours, you can set you can get the closer to set the calendar slot as free instead of busy, so they can get double booked. Okay, and if one person doesn't show, the other one does, you can show up to the showed call. If both show, you can just have a setter on standby to call the person who didn't confirm. Okay. But yeah, that is pretty much it. Now it is very vague and there is a lot more to go through, but rapid firing, That is the structure on how to build a seven-figure sales process. It is really about leverage. It's about culture. It's about hiring the right people, having the right training, and knowing your offer, knowing what type of prospects there are, what type of sales rep connect with that offer. Also, especially this day and age, having the systems, the technology, and the automations to be able to delegate a lot of your job as a manager, as a business owner. What's going on in this video? I'm going to run through exactly how to hire a high ticket closer into your business and how to onboard them and how to make sure they perform, what to do if they don't. Now, hiring a closer is one of the most important parts of scaling because a lot of people, a lot of businesses I've worked with in the past and work with started out doing this the wrong way. And this can cost your business thousands. Hiring the wrong person, onboarding them in the wrong way, not knowing when to cut them loose. Okay, so we're going to go through 7 points in terms of everything on hiring a closer. Watch to the end to know exactly when to fire a closer and the support cadence use. So first things first is actually hiring the closer, the hiring sources. What I look for is referrals. Good closers know good closers. It's like Olympic athletes. Olympic athletes typically are probably going to hang around with other athletes, other high performance athletes. So first thing you want to do is maybe if you have a closer already in your business that's performing, ask them if they have any performing closer mates, right? Anyone who's looking for a closer role, anyone who's on an offer but wants to get to that next level, depending on what your offer is as well. If that doesn't work, ask sales managers, ask different business owners if they have any recommendations. And if that doesn't work, what you want to do is you want to go to high ticket sales coaching communities, entrepreneur coaching communities, loads of different private communities. And if that doesn't work, you want to get someone who has a closer audience to put on their story, hiring a closer. And if that doesn't work, you want to get a recruiter, someone like me, a sales manager, to reach out to their network and find you one. Okay. Once you've interviewed a few closers, actually, we'll go on to interviewing first. So interviewing and what to look for is, of course, experience, but experience to your specific industry and niche definitely helps. One of the most important things in terms of hiring a good closer is, of course, skill, yes, but it's product knowledge. Right? It could take someone ages to figure out the product knowledge of your specific industry and your specific offer. So ideally, let's say you're hiring for a trading coaching company or, marketing agency. Having someone who knows a bit about B2B sales, a bit about marketing, social media marketing is such a good plus because it's going to take them a lot less time to ramp up and actually learn your specific service. Other things I'm looking at is energy. If you have someone coming on the call, not having energy, not having that oomph, they're probably going to show up to calls like that, right? So that's a very big red flag. And another one that people don't really look at is, do you get on with them? You're going to be working with this person for a long time. So you want to be able to get on with them. You want to be confident that if you went out to the pub, if you went out for food with them, you'd probably get on, okay? And of course, skill set as well. Do they know the structure? Do they have good objection handling techniques? Can they demonstrate emotional intelligence? Are they pretty switched on? Okay, that's a very vague overview of what to look for in an interview. I typically like to go over call recordings as well, and depending on the circumstances, if they've not got any call recordings, I like to do a role play as well. Test them on the structure, test them on objection handling, maybe test them on the pitch as well. Pitch is a very important part. Okay, once you've found that person who has the energy, who is coachable, who doesn't have an ego, then you want to move on to onboarding. Okay, and what I like to use in terms of structure of onboarding is an onboarding document. I can send it over if you guys reach out to me on Instagram, but it's super, super, super important to have a structured onboarding document with everything in terms of your company, the product knowledge, the pitch deck, the prices, payment links, everything. And I think the most important part in onboarding is product knowledge and pitch. Yeah, closers can have the structure of the sales call, the discovery, but if they don't have the pitch down, if they don't have the product knowledge to answer questions, then it's very hard for them to get deals. Okay, so you want to really go ham in terms of info about the founders, info about the brand, info about their testimonials, everything. Right? Post-call process, what they do after a call, how to work the CRM, tech, onboarding to Slack, Discord, whatever, CRM, absolutely everything, right? You want to get them set up with Fathom, Google Meet, Zoom, everything, right? Is the more simpler it is, the easier it's going to be for your sales rep to ramp up and start performing. Okay. And how I usually get closers to ramp up and train, which is the fourth part, is for the first 7 days, I'm not getting them on calls. First 7 days is training. I'm going to jump on one-to-one calls with them 4 times in the week, potentially more if you've got the time. I'm going to be practicing the pitch with them, and I'm going to be testing them on their product knowledge. If you've got an absolute superstar closer, what you want to do is you want to send over their call recordings for them to review, or you just want them to shadow them as well. You know, potentially jump on their calls as a someone who doesn't have the screen on, or just pretending to be the call recorder. You can do that if you really, really want to, but if you got a superstar closer, just send them over the call recordings to study. Now, if you don't have a superstar closer, if you have like an average closer, you just want to do the training with them. Role plays, testing them, pitch, everything. Okay, that's for the first 7 days. Now, you can really make a judgment call and gauge if you feel like someone's ready after the 7 days, or maybe earlier before the 7 days is up. And if you feel like, you know what, someone is ready, they have got the product knowledge on lock, you want to put them on the calendar for a couple calls a day. Nothing crazy, right? Because you want to preserve ad spend. You want to preserve the cost and opportunity cost of putting them on calls just in case they're shit and they don't really work out. Okay. So a couple calls a day, right? For the first few days. Once they start closing a couple of deals, once they start really building their confidence, you want to put them on maybe 3 to 5 calls a day. Okay. And then carry on that process once they build their confidence, eventually put them on to full-time calls, probably after 7 days after taking live calls. Okay. But what I want to be doing throughout this process is reviewing their calls every single day, hooking them up to either Fathom or Firefly's Note Taker, and just reviewing the calls, giving them 1 to 2 needle movers they can improve on. Not 101, 1 to 2. We don't want to overwhelm them. We don't want to nitpick them. We want them to actually get better and focus on 1 or 2 things. Okay. So yeah, that's what I do on the first 7 days, and then do that until they're fully ramped up. In terms of KPIs you should look for, you don't really know if a closer is really going to perform and is a good fit until around 50 live calls, right? Maybe 30 to 50. I'd say 50 maximum. So what you want to be doing is you want to be looking at their KPIs and watching their calls up until that 50 call mark. If they're not at least a 20% closing rate or 25% closing rate by that 50 call mark, it's probably not going to be the best fit. And by the way, that depends on your offer. It depends on your specific sales cycle. It depends on how warm the leads are. By the way, I've got a bit of an itchy nose, hay fever, so excuse me. Now, the first 14 days on calls, first 7 to 14 days on calls, probably 14, there should be around a 15% close rate, maybe 10%, but it's not unheard of 14 days into calls to not be at 20, 25%. It's not unheard of, and it's pretty natural. So don't be alarmed. Okay. But the judgment call you should be able to make is 50 calls. Are they at 20% at least? If they're not, you want to make a judgment call, see if they're going to, see if they have any pipeline deals brewing, see if they have potential. If they don't, it's best to just cut them off straight away. Okay. Because a big mistake I see a lot of business owners make is because they like the person or because they don't know when to fire them, they just prolong things and they waste a lot of money. Okay. So yeah, when to fire. Either if they don't have the right culture fit, maybe they perform, but they don't listen to you, they have an ego, they don't have the right culture fit, they don't get on with the team, you should fire them. If they don't hit KPIs by 50 calls, like I said, you should probably fire them depending on what the vibe is, if you feel like they're going to maintain and get better. And you get that with experience, knowing when to fire, when to hire, etc. But yeah, support cadence, you should be answering any of their questions, jumping on with them on a daily basis, ideally reviewing their calls on a daily basis, just getting that feedback and getting that pulse. Listen, if you've got over 3,000 pretty decent followers on Instagram and you're not booking 5+ calls every single day, each setter, then you're losing out on tens of thousands of dollars every single month. And essentially in this video, I'm just going to go over with you exactly how to actually build the system, what each part of the component looks like for this system, and how you can essentially collect shit ton more cash every single month just from having a clear appointment setting system in place. So if you think, who am I and what do I know? I've essentially done this with so many other brands, right? We've doubled people's businesses. We've booked 60+ calls every single month with one setter. We've tripled businesses. We've collected tens of thousands every single month, hundreds of thousands every single month. We've managed 4.3 million in client spend just this year, right? So this component and system essentially has three parts to it: hype and scarcity, story sequences, and talent hiring and training. So let's start with the hype and scarcity. Now, this really depends on if you're just completely launching your info product or coaching business from scratch, or you already have a base, right? If you're launching from scratch, what you want to do is you want to have a wait list, right? This wait list is literally designed to build up that hype and scarcity, make people think, wow, can they not just release it already? I want to jump on board, okay? It's really there to build that lead list, okay? And it comes down to the buyer's psychology, how people buy. They don't want to know that something is in, I don't know, loads of demand, right? They don't want to know that it's really easy to get something. They want to buy something because they can't have it, right? So we want to build that scarcity, okay? And the way you want to do this is you want to host a waiting list to collect the leads data, right? So you own the leads data. It's not on Instagram, it's on your platform, so you can own that data, so you can call them up and you can get in contact with them, okay? Once you've built up a wait list, once you've built up that hype over a 14-day period, what you want to do is you want to blast it with emails, okay, with booking links, with certain copy to get them to book in a call, okay? And then once you've booked in a certain amount of calls, then you want to do a public launch. You've done the private launch, you want to do the public launch to the whole audience, okay? And that's really how you can collect all the data and get appointment setters to reach out to all the leads. Now, most people watching this have probably already done a launch. They probably already launched their own coaching business or consulting business. So you want to do a mixture of hard CTAs and soft CTAs. Okay, two different types of CTAs. If you do too many hard CTAs, you're going to burn out your audience. So what you want to do is you want to post stories, hard CTAs, maybe some proof, some lifestyle, a bit of balance. You're not always posting these CTAs. You're posting a balance of different stories. And you want to do this at least 2 times a week. One soft CTA and one hard CTA. And you've got to know the balance between how many CTAs you're posting as opposed to how many standard stories you're posting. Okay, so once you've built that hype and scarcity, you've got to know how to actually structure these story sequences. Story sequences are probably one of the most important parts of the process because it's all about the psychology of things. Okay, again, it comes down to the scarcity and the hype. You want to build up that scarcity, build up the excitement. Okay, and what we're doing here is we're getting people to essentially put down their interest, registering their interest. We're not getting people to completely book in a call straight away. We're just getting them to either engage in a poll or engage in a story or comment a keyword. And what this keyword's going to do, it's going to get engaged leads in one place, right? This pretty much tees it up for the appointment setter. Okay, so we're getting leads in one place, we're getting leads in the DMs. Now, how do we actually engage them? Now, this comes down to talent, hiring, and training. Okay, really, really important, because if you get the wrong talent in this process, it'll mess the whole thing up. You want an appointment setter that speaks like you, that knows your specific business, that knows the specific offer, and has ideal experience in that specific offer. Okay, you don't want an appointment setter that has no idea how you speak, doesn't use your terminology, doesn't even know your industry terminology either, right? Because that's going to make people think that they're speaking to AI, they're speaking to a robot, they're speaking to a VA. You don't want that, because people go cold and they won't want to book in a call. Okay, so this is exactly how I source for the clients. I have essentially with closer pipelines and appointment set and hiring pipelines in specific order in terms of beginner, intermediate, advanced, top tier setter. Now, this is based on your offer. It's really hard to offer a really top tier setter a place in your business if you just don't have the on-track earnings. Okay, so that's all we do with the clients, structuring which set is best for your business. Okay, and then onboarding and training. Once you've interviewed, once you've screened these setters, you want to make sure that you have the relevant onboarding packs. Okay, you have to onboard them properly. If a setter doesn't have the right onboarding, then they're just not going to perform because they don't know everything about your offer. They don't know the whole process. Okay, so this is what we do with our clients. We put together this onboarding pack. And by the way, I'm not finished, but if you want me to build all of this out into your business, build this system out, either book in a call below or just go on Instagram, pop me a message, or just go to my website below. Back to the video. Now, yeah, the onboarding pack is really important, and it all ties into the training and ramp up of an appointment setter. There's a difference between ramping them up in
I don't know, maybe 2 weeks as opposed to a month and a half. A month and a half is if you don't have a good onboarding process. You're going to waste loads of leads. So it goes like this. Day 1 to 7, and this is usually the time frame it works with our clients that we place setters and closers for. Day 1 to 7 is setter placement, right? We're screening, sourcing, and onboarding and interviewing the appointment setters. Okay. Within that 7-day period, we're going to start the setter ramp up and training. This is daily coaching, daily workflows, and daily role plays, and speaking to leads in your Instagram DMs as well, either using ManyChat, Meta Business Suite, or your own Instagram profile through LastPass. This is essentially where we're just really going hard in terms of training, teaching the setter how to speak like the business owner, what the terminology is, right? Teaching the setter the full script and framework for the specific business. And then after day 14 to 21, that's when you have a fully operational appointment setter. You have an appointment setter that's been ramped up, that's been trained to the specific business model, the specific offer, and they know exactly what to do. They should be booking at least 3 to 5 qualified calls every single day plus, right? And that's each setter. Okay. And that's where the whole system intertwines. You get those engaged leads and you have a fully trained and hired appointment setter, right? Who's going to go through all your DMs and engage with these leads on a regular basis. They can all also go through your Go High Level or your CRM and call them up and text them up as well. Okay. Now, the most important thing is tracking in data. You have to know the data. You have to know how your appointment setter is doing, what the specific data are, the proposed rate, the link sent rate, like absolutely everything. And this is how you know if your appointment setter is doing good or not. So we build out these data trackers as well for our clients. And ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly how we book through 5+ qualified calls per setter with the businesses we work with. Now, the next process is the post-booking sales process. That's to be continued for another video, but that's a whole different other beast. But in this video, I'm going to go through the full sales call framework that allowed me to close $1.27 million in deals in the last 12 months. First thing I want to go through is the introduction. This space lacks trust. So many people offering everything under the sun, so many ads. So important to just be yourself. Be authentic. Don't try to be someone you're not, and just be chill. Right? It's super important to just get on with someone. So what I'm doing in the intro is just introducing myself, building a bit of relationship for a minute or two, keeping it pretty short, and just connecting, right? Breaking the ice. In terms of setting the agenda, super important to just say, okay, I'm setting the call, right? I'm the person who's actually asking the questions so that people aren't going to be surprised that you're asking so many questions. So how I do this is I say, what I've seen works best on these calls is I just tend to ask a few questions based on your situation, what your goals are, and what the main roadblocks are. Right? If I feel like I can actually help, I'm happy to run through what we offer and get you started. If not, no hard feelings whatsoever. Hopefully I can just point you in the right direction. Sound fair? Super chilled, just pretty much setting the frame. Now, current situation, super important to probe, right? And by probe, I just mean dig deeper, right? Don't assume that you know what someone's thinking or you know what someone's means, right? Always probe into things. So what I tend to do is just first question I ask is, what is the main reason you wanted to book in a call and get help with X, Y, Z? You know, for example, what is the main reason you want to book in a call and potentially get started with high ticket closing, right? It's a very tailored question. Instead of saying, what brought you to the call? Very broad. They can say, oh yeah, I just want to look around and just having a look, gaining more info. This is pretty much saying, okay, what made you want to look in specifically to high ticket sales and basically what's your problem? Okay, so you ask a more tailored question, you get a more tailored answer. This usually gets the pain out of them. But if it doesn't and you probe enough, you want to ask what they're doing for a living. Okay, just gives you more ammo. Okay, what are you doing for a living and how long have you been doing that for? Very important because it gives you ammo. Okay, how long someone's been doing the same thing for? Very important objection handling because you can say, right, you've been doing this for X amount of months, X amount of years, and you still not changed. Next thing is the problem awareness. We want to go deep on the problem. And by deep on the problem, I mean just probe so much. Okay, you're probably going to hear probing a lot in this video. You've been doing this for X amount of time. Do you like what you're doing for a living? We're just prodding it. We're prodding, right? If yes, what do you like about it? All right, we want to find out what they like. And usually people say, yeah, I like this, but I like this, but this. Okay, so it's a very good way to probe into the pains without directly asking. If they don't say they don't like anything, I think that's how you say it. You pretty much say, look, things seem to be going pretty well. Like, is there anything you change about what you're doing or the results you're getting at the moment? That's when you get into the pain. Or if they say no, you just say, what do you not like about it? Okay, and it's very important to probe into things. I say it again, guys, probe into things. So let's say someone said, oh yeah, it's just taking a lot of my time. It's taking so much time. A lot of your time? Like, how much time exactly is it taking from you? 12 hours. 12 hours, is that have an effect on you at all? Yeah, like in what way specifically? Okay, so you want to delve deep a few layers into it because that's going to give you a lot of ammo, and ammo is something you really want in these sales calls. Confirmation is just confirming that you understand and confirming that you're listening, right? So just so I can be clear with things. Situation you're in is you work as a nurse and you work in 12-hour shift that essentially don't allow you to spend time with your kids, right? Yeah, 100%. So it just shows you're actually listening, all right? Even builds that relationship even more because it shows you're actually interested in what they're saying. Agree with the pain points. Make sure you probe in. You guys are going to hear it. Okay, sweet. So this is where you want to delve into a bit more pain. So ideally on sales calls, you want to get about 2 to 3 points of pain. Not just 1, 2 to 3 ammo. So just so I can get a bit more of an understanding, besides X pain, what's the main reason behind looking to become a high ticket closer or a trader or whatever, rather than just carry on and progressing with what you're doing at the moment? So it's pretty much asking what is better about this business model that makes you want to stop doing what you're doing right now. Okay, so it's basically just another way of asking about the pain and bigging up your business model. So once you've gained 2 to 3 pain points, once you've delved into it and you've got 100% understanding of what their pains are, you've delved into it 100%, then we go into solution awareness. What other solutions have you looked into? If they say, okay, I've not looked into any, why not? And this is gold here. If they've not looked into any, this is probably the best piece of ammo you could have. Why haven't you looked into anything? Been struggling with XYZ problem for 2 years now. Why haven't you done anything in that time? This is where you really hold accountable. Okay, if they give you a bullshit answer, you want to hold them accountable even more. Like, really? Like, you haven't done anything because of that? Don't let them get away with any shitty answer. Okay, you want to make sure you're probing. You want to make sure you're actually holding them accountable and holding your ground. If you think someone's bullshit, call it out. If they give you some solutions, you want to ask why it didn't work out. Okay, you want them to pretty much reflect on why that didn't work and what they need to do differently, whether it be make better decisions, whether it be take more action so you can use it as ammo. Why do you not think that worked out, or why do you think that didn't work out? And what makes you think this can work out for you? So it's building up the certainty in this business model or this service or offer even more, so they think it's going to be different this time. Desired situation, very important to actually visualize this. I used to think, why do people say, okay, so how's that going to make you feel, all that shit? I don't say that, by the way, but it's really important to allow them to go really deep in terms of their desires to make them think it's possible. Same reason why you visualize, you meditate, you close your eyes and you visualize your future life as an entrepreneur. You want them to do it with their goals, but of course not close their eyes. You want them to think, wow, like that actually is possible. Let me think deeply in terms of what I want. Maybe it is actually possible with this solution. So 6 months time from now, what is the ideal situation for yourself? I like to start with the lifestyle side of things. Okay, they list out all their lifestyle, what they want all their life to look like, and then you can work backwards. Okay. So how much do you need to be earning on a monthly basis to be able to live that lifestyle? You want to probe into it. Why specifically do you want that lifestyle? What about that lifestyle excites you? What about that lifestyle makes you feel like you'd be complete or makes you feel like you'd be more happy? How would that have an effect on you on a personal level? What's behind that? What makes you want that lifestyle? And then you work backwards. So how much money do you feel like you need to be earning on a monthly basis to be able to have that lifestyle? This is another way I'd answer the last question I just asked. So let's suppose for a minute you're actually making 20K a month. Having the location freedom, the time flexibility, or insert their goals. What specifically do you feel like that would do for you personally? So that's a good way of gauging what's behind it. It's a good way of probing, because the more they think about it, the more they visualize their goals, the more they think, wow, like I can actually do this. So next section is the cost of an action. I've put a few things together from a few different sales trainers in this space. What I like to do is get them up there and then just get them back there again to make them think, shit, I'm not in that situation. So that's the top of the mountain. You're making 20K a month. You live in that location freedom. You live in the life you want for your family. The bottom of the mountain is essentially what happens if nothing changes. What does that look like for you? It wouldn't look good. And what do you mean? What do you mean it wouldn't look good? In what way wouldn't it look good? You know, you want to probe onto that. A lot of the time, people give you a bit of a shitty answer and say, well, look, like, I'm going to change something in 6 months or in the next few years. It's not going to happen. It's not a possibility. And then you push back. And that's where the ammo at the start of the call comes in. You know, how long have you been doing this for? How long have you been facing this issue for? So you say, well, look, I disagree. It's been happening for the past 6, 12 months. So it is a possibility, right? Because it has been for the past year. What does it look like if nothing changes? Essentially, you just push back and you ask the same question again. That really gets the prospect thinking in terms of what would their life look like if nothing changes. And I guess, why is it so important to you now, though? Why not last week, next week, 6 months? Why not wait till New Year, New Me? You know, New Year's resolution. Bit of humor, mocking things sometimes helps. But essentially, just build up the urgency. Okay? Why now? Why is it so important now to make them think, okay, now I need to take action instead of saying I need to think about things? After you've gone through this part of the call, now it's time to share the solution. You've got all of the info you need to know to be able to actually share the solution and make them an offer. I say, look, Mr. Prospect, I appreciate you sharing that with me. Based on what you've told me, it seems like you'd definitely be a good fit for us and what we offer. Before I run through what we offer exactly, do you have any specific questions? This is your chance to handle a few objections beforehand, gauge what their inconsistencies and uncertainties are. Okay, sweet. Do you have a pen and paper handy? Okay, this is going to allow them to take more initiative and actually pay attention more and focus. So before going into the process, just so you have the big picture, in one line, what we do is X, Y, Z. You want to pretty much give an overview of what we do and what the promise is. And after this, what I like to do in terms of my structure of my pitch is 3 key phases. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. You want to break down your offer into 3 phases so it's nice and easy to understand. Very, very key with the pitch, not focus on features. A lot of people share the screen, go through all the program or the service. Such a rookie move. You want to focus on the outcome. You want to focus on what their life could look like. Okay? Also, I don't really like to share my screen because it doesn't allow them to imagine. If you don't share your screen and you explain the service or the program, it allows them to imagine what the outcome would look like, what the actual specific program looks like. But if you share all of your cards, if you share all of the inside of the program, whatever, they can't really imagine. They think, oh, well, that's it. 3 key phases. You want to focus on the problems of the prospect, tailor the pitch. You want to have a framework, but also focus on the specific problems. Like I said, don't focus on the features. You want to focus on the outcome. After the 3 key phases, temp check. And this is really important in terms of gauging where they're at, if they're bought in, if they have any objections. So that's exactly how we want to get you from where you are right now in X situation to X goal. Visualizing it again. Do you have any questions? You handle objections? Okay, just before going to the price/investment, the process, everything we covered. I do honestly feel like this could be the answer for you to get to X, Y, Z goal. What this is doing is just getting rid of any objections potentially. Temp check is super important in terms of getting rid of any uncertainty. So the goal here is to make sure nothing is left behind. Of course, sometimes there are going to be things that are left after the price drop, but the goal is to make sure you handle everything. Do you feel like this is the answer? If they give you a very confident answer of a yes, why specifically they give an answer? What makes you say that? What makes you think that would be the answer for you? Probing just to get them to reaffirm it. Okay? If they give you an answer that's like, yeah, that's bullshit. You know, they don't actually think it's the answer. So you want to call out. I'll be honest, it doesn't seem like you're that confident. Anything holding you back? Yeah, it's just, I'm just uncertain, I'm just fearful. Then you handle that objection. On a 4th or a 3rd temp check, just to be safe, you want to 1 to 10 it. You don't always want to do this, but if you're unsure, on a scale of 1 to 10, just so I'm sure. 1 meaning, I hate this guy, I hate the product, not a fit for me. 10 being, I love it, I'm ready to move ahead right now. Where would you say you fall at the moment? If they say 9, 10 with strong tonality, you want to move ahead because that's very good buying signals, okay? If they say 8 or below, you want to ask them what's holding you back. Okay, 8, no worries. What would you say is holding you back from becoming a 10? then you handle the objection. After this, once you've got through everything you can in terms of the certainty, the objections, once you feel ready, but only when you feel ready, you price drop. So in terms of lifetime access to XYZ to get you to this goal, the price is 5K. Silence. You want to wait for them to speak because it's going to allow them to think. It's going to allow them to actually have some breathing room and process everything you've said. After this, you're probably going to get some objections arise. This is when the juice happens. This is when it gets fun. I need to think about it. No worries whatsoever. You don't want to be pushy. No point being a pushy salesperson. No worries. All good. Completely understand it, brother. Look, in terms of the whole process, do you honestly feel like this could actually work for you? You want to reaffirm that it would work. Yeah. What makes you not confident? Or if they say, yeah, 100%. Okay, so when you do go think about things, what specifically is coming up for you to think about? A lot of the time, you won't get the real answer, but if you do it right, you diffuse it properly, you can handle the rejection, okay? It's just the money. Okay, perfect. I completely understand it, man. I was in the exact same situation or whatever. You want to relate to it. What specifically about the money is coming up for you? Is it that you've got the budget, it's just a bit of a big jump, or it's completely out your budget? It's a broad one. So it could be they don't have the money, they need a payment plan, or it could be they're fearful. Okay? If it's the fear, you want to handle the fear objection. If it's the money, you want to handle the payment plan side of things. You want to reaffirm the objection after you actually find out, because it could be bullshit. If you had the money, if you had a bag of 5K right now lying there, what would your next steps be? I'd 100% go for it. Likelihood is it is the money. Yeah, I'd still probably need to think about it. The money's not the objection. Okay, so you go back, you loop, you carry on finding out and probing what the objection is. Don't have the money right now, you want to probe into payment plans. Okay, not a problem whatsoever. Tell me, if you did have the funds, if you had 5K there, what would your next steps be? It's my go-to for handling objections and see if it's the right objection. What makes you say that? So just to be clear, reaffirming it once more time, you're 100% on the program. It's just the funds holding you back. Yes, 100%. That is your cue to go into offer payment plans. Okay, you know it's the money now. Okay, perfect. I can appreciate the money might be an issue for you. How do you think you can resolve this so you can find the money, so you can get to XYZ goal? Okay, this is pretty much getting to be a bit resourceful, find the money yourself. I can do this, I can sell this, or they can say, I don't know, I can't find the money. Can you think of any other avenues at all that you can find the money to get to XYZ goal? If no luck, then you pitch the payment plans. How I like to do this is an open wallet check. An open wallet check is pretty much seeing how much money they have so you don't leave all the cards on the table. If we feel like someone's a really good fit and they would get some killer results with us, then we're happy to offer payment plans and the ability to break it down further. Would that help you at all? Yes. Okay, well, look, for me to figure out what plan works best, I need to know a bit more about the finances specifically. Are you open to having a pretty honest conversation about what the finances look like just to see if I can help? Yeah, 100%. Okay, so how much free cash do you have available in the standard checking account at the moment? Then you ask, okay, in terms of the savings account, what do you have free? Investments, and then if you exhaust all of those options, you want to go into credit. Some people need credit reframing because they think it's a bit scary. So I like to go with the landlord analogy. Lots of landlords don't actually own their house. They use debt to be able to get passive income and grow their investments. So you can use that analogy. Off topic. You want to go into credit and go that way. But essentially, guys, that is pretty much a very rough guide of the whole framework that I use to be able to close 1.27 million in the last 12 months. If you have any specific questions going into specific detail of each one of these sections, drop me a message on Instagram. And look, if you're a coach or consultant between 20 and 80K a month and you need help increasing your conversion rates, show rates, offer rates, everything, drop me a message on Instagram and I'll see if I can help. Have a good day, guys. Bye. And you're confident you can actually help them, then it's time to actually offer them the solution. Now, this is only doable once you've gathered enough information and you gathered the right amount of pain. But there's two main issues and mistakes I see coaches and salespeople making when they're pitching their services. The first one is they pitch features and details and not the end goal. Sure, yeah, you can add a few details and features, but what you really want to be doing is selling the end goal and end outcome. Like Alex Hormozy says, you don't want to sell the plane ticket, you want to sell the holiday destination. So in your case, sell the goal. Sell the end outcome for the prospect so that they're not analytical, they're not in features mode, they're not in product analysis mode. They're in, okay, I want to get to my goals mode. Okay. The second mistake I see a lot of coaches and salespeople making is they don't tailor the pitch of the presentation to the specific prospect. You want to make the prospect feel like they're literally on this call tailored towards them entirely. You don't have just a stock pitch that you use for everyone. You have a pitch that is tailored towards them specifically, tailored towards their pain points, their goals, where they are at the moment. You want to tailor it exactly to what they've told you on the call, so they feel special. They feel like you've taken the time to really make a solution based on them, which essentially you should be doing. So let's get straight into it. Now, after I go through the discovery, what I usually say is, I appreciate you sharing that, by the way. Based on what you've told me, it seems like you can definitely be a good fit for what we offer, and what we offer seems like it could be a good fit for you as well. Before I run through exactly what we do offer, do you have any specific questions at all? Now, of course, this is for you to handle any objections and get through any concerns to make the pitch and presentation as clear as possible. You don't want to just let them walk all over you with questions. Any questions that you would answer in the pitch or the presentation, just say to them, no worries whatsoever. We'll probably go through that in the presentation. So if you give me a couple minutes, that's all good. And then once you've got through all of the questions, you want to ask them to get a pen and paper. So I just like to say, do you have a pen and paper handy? If they say no, you want to ask them to go get one. Reason being is if they have a pen and paper, if they're writing it down, it means they're concentrated. It means they're focused. Instead of them looking at their phone or being distracted or getting sidetracked, okay? You want them to be focused. So after they sat down with a pen and paper, you want to give a one-line overview of your product and your promise. Okay, so I tend to say something like this. Before getting into the process, everything we offer, just so you have the big picture, in one line, what we do is, and then you want to insert your one-line overview of your offer and the promise. So for example, let's say weight loss. Okay, well, before going into the process, just so you have the big picture, in one line, what we essentially do is we help busy entrepreneurs lose weight without having to spend hours and hours and hours tracking calories so they can get in the best possible physique of their life. So that's just a quick, brief introduction of what you do, just to make the prospect clear in terms of what you actually do and what the big promise is. Okay, so you can tailor this to whatever your offer is, whether it be SMMA, high ticket sales coaching, whether it be coaching coaches, whatever it is, you can tailor it to your offer. And then with the actual presentation itself, you want to break it down into phases, 3 to 4 key phases. Okay, you want to make sure it's easily understandable. Okay, so I break it into 3 key phases mainly when I'm working with a coaching client. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And a good way to split this up is the course, coaching, or community. The reason why we want to break it into phases is so you can break it into chunks and ask them if they're still there, if they have any questions, and make sure it's bite-sized and it's not overwhelming. Worst thing you could do is have a pitch that's 10 to 15 minutes long that people just can't be bothered to even pay attention to. So you want to make sure your pitch is 6, maximum 8 minutes, ideally probably no more than 6 minutes. 3, 4 phases, really easy to follow on from. So let me give you a brief role play example of maybe the presentation for a fitness coaching company or a weight loss coaching company. Just before going into the process, so you have the big picture, in one line, what we essentially do is we help busy entrepreneurs like yourself lose weight whilst not having to actually spend hours and hours and hours tracking calories so they can get in the best possible weight of their life or best possible fitness or physique of their life. Now, the program is broken into 3 main phases. Phase 1, which is the course. Phase 2 is the coaching. And phase 3 is community. Phase 1 being the course is essentially all of the knowledge you need to know. So the main thing that you said you've been struggling with is just the knowledge. You've tried all of these different fitness plans. You've tried all of these different diets and you just can't stick to one. So what we want to do is give you the knowledge needed to never have to worry about losing weight again. So you have the knowledge to be able to lose weight, to be able to get in the best physical shape of your life and maintain it. Okay, pretty much 13 hours of course content so you can follow absolutely everything and really learn everything you need to know about the fitness accelerator diet plan, whatever it's called. Any questions so far before we move on to phase 2? Okay, yeah, perfect. In terms of phase 2 is the coaching. So the main thing that you said you were struggling with is lack of accountability and lack of people to just guide you and tell you what to do, right? Perfect. So let's say you were learning to ride a bike and there was 2 instances. One instance, you were just on your own with a bike on the pavement. The other instance, you had the best cyclist in the world in your pocket or on the sidewalk helping you every step of the way. Which one would allow you to stick to your goals and progress faster? Probably the second one, right? 100%. So essentially with the coaching, we're going to give you one one-to-one coaching session every single week to essentially allow you to keep on track, right? We're essentially going to give you that ongoing support so you can ask any questions whenever you want. So let's say maybe you're feeling pretty overwhelmed. You're on work and you don't know what to do with your macros or your protein. You can drop us a message. We'll give you help to get you to that goal of 6-pack abs, 70 kg, feeling the best you've ever felt. Okay, so that's the coaching side of things. We want to give you that ongoing coaching. We want to give you that one-to-one coaching every single week and 3 group coaching sessions to allow you to really hold yourself accountable and learn from people who've done what you want to do instead of just doing it on your own. So far, we all up to scratch before I touch on the final point? Perfect. Phase 3 is community. You're an entrepreneur. You know the importance of networking, right? 100%. So what we want to do is surround you with not only people who are fit, healthy, people who are getting in the best shape of their life, but different entrepreneurs, people in different aspects of business. So you can not only network with people who actually are in the situation and physique that you want to be in, but in different realms of business. So you can maybe do business deals, you can network about different industries, and you can network about people with different physiques than you. You can have the inspiration, you can have people doing what you want to do on a daily basis. You've probably heard of that phrase, you're a product to the 5 people you hang around with, right? 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6, 5 fit and healthy people, you'll be the 6, 5 bums, you'll probably be the 6. We essentially want to replicate that with a community of 200 people, you being like all of those people, meetups whenever you want, community sessions, jump on calls with them, really being able to surround yourself with the right people. But that is pretty much absolutely everything. The last bit I want to mention is the guarantee, which essentially states that if you do X, Y, Z and you don't lose 20 kg of fat in 6 months, then we'll give you a full refund or just work with you one-on-one until you do. That is literally off the dome, a quick 3-phase pitch, just to give you an insight of how I would structure it. Of course, it's not going to be as vague as that, but that's how I would tailor it to their specific problems and their specific goals. You want to insert their problems, their pain points, give a remedy to those pain points, and filter in their goals so they know that they're linking the gap between their pain points and the goals and your solution. What I do like to include, as you probably noticed, is the guarantee at the end. Just puts people at ease, so it gives you even more leverage. So adding the guarantee, the money back guarantee, or the results-based guarantee that we went through earlier on in the course, or whatever one you have, into the pitch at the very end will definitely help ease their concerns. So phone setting, this is a bit different to DM setting on Instagram or Facebook, on WhatsApp, because it requires someone who has a bit better communication skills and emotional intelligence. So you have to do this one right. Now in this training, I'm going to be going over the framework that you can use to effectively set appointments on the phone, and most importantly, financially qualify prospects. So they're showing up to your sales calls almost ready to buy with the rough estimate of a price in mind. So they're not going to be surprised, okay? So they know what they're going into. So I've got to preface, the phone setting framework, it's like a mini sales call. It is a minimized sales call. So you do most of the things you do on a sales call, but on a very, very, very smaller level, okay? An appointment setting call, a phone setting call, should be no longer than 7 to 10 minutes. So it's very important to keep this brief, just so you can tee it up for the closer. You can get all the relevant information for the closer so they can attack the call in the best way, detailed towards the prospect. So let's get straight to it. Step 1 is just building a bit of rapport and setting the tone, setting the frame like you would in a sales call, okay? Start with a confident, friendly tone. You wanted to say, hey, name, my name's John or whatever. I am whatever position in the company. I am one of the account managers, or I'm one of the secretaries, or whatever you call one of your appointment setters. How's your day going? Quick bit of report, nothing crazy, literally 20 seconds, okay? Then you want to get straight into setting the tone. Yeah, glad to hear. So look, this call is just a quick call just to understand where you're at the moment, you know, what you're actually looking to achieve and whether it actually makes sense to move forward to a more detailed call with one of our account managers. Does that sound good? Yeah, 100%. Then you want to get into gathering a bit more about their situation. What this allows you to do is 2 things. Tee the closer up, the closer or the salesperson or yourself as the founder, so that they know as much as possible about the prospect, so they can go in the call looking like they've actually prepared, which is a very good look, going into the call saying, okay, this is what I've heard about you, great look. And the second thing, it's actually building the greed to get the prospect to book in a call, okay? Main thing, right? You want to build up the emotion to get them to book in a call. So firstly,
briefly gather their situation. 1 to 2 minutes, nothing crazy. Can you give me a quick overview of, what you're currently working on with, or what you're doing as a living at the moment? Or could you give me a brief overview of your situation at the moment, just to, give me a bit of insight? Depends on the offer, depends how you ask the question. Let's say it's health and fitness, they want to lose weight. Do you mind giving me a brief overview of your situation at the moment, what you've been doing to lose weight in the past? Or what's been the biggest obstacle holding you back from achieving specific outcome? Okay, bit about their situation. Take notes as well, definitely. And then next section is to understand their goals, all right? Bit more of building the grid to book in a call. So what's the main goal over the next 3 to 6 months? Or why is achieving that important to you right now? Okay. Very, very, very brief. And then once you feel like they actually can benefit from the solution or the offer, go into actually pitching the offer very, very briefly. Okay. I don't know why it says high level here. So introduce the offer. Okay. So look, based on what you've shared, it sounds like the specific challenge you're facing, X challenge, is actually holding you back from getting to X goal. Now, what we do is help people like yourself and just give a brief overview of your offer. What I'll do is I'll let the closer's name or one of our account managers go into a bit more detail on the next call if he feels like it is a good fit. But so far, from what I went over, does this feel like something that could help you? Yes. And if it does, that's when you want to either book in a call straight away or go into financial qualification. Now, there's a few ways I like to financially qualify prospects. And financially qualifying prospects is important, as you probably know, so that you're not wasting time of yourself or the salesperson. Okay, so if throughout the appointment setting process, you've gauged that the person has money, they have a pretty decent job, they earn pretty decent money, maybe over $3,000 a month or $5,000 a month, depending on how much your offer costs, then sometimes you don't even need to financially qualify. So you've got to play it by ear. But most of the time, if you want to just play it safe, this is how you do it. Okay. So just to give you a ballpark mark of what we offer, typically ranges between $2,000 to $10,000. Depending on what the best solution is for you and payment plans, of course. But if this is the right fit, would that be something that you'd be in a position to potentially invest in right now? If they hesitate or they push for specifics, they push back and they want the actual offer, the actual price, sorry, you don't want to share it straight away. Okay, the last thing you want to do is share it because it'll probably scare them off. Okay. Look, I don't really want to lock in for an exact number just yet because it really does depend on what's best for your needs, payment plans, etc. But does the range I mentioned feel workable for you? If they say yes, go into book in a call. If they keep on saying no, then you can just pitch the price. Okay, look, to be completely transparent, the investment is exact price. We do offer payment plans. The minimum payment plan we offer is $1,500 a month. Just want to make sure that this doesn't, financially affect you at all. Is this something you potentially be able to do? If they say yes, you can book them in a call. If they say no, just shove them off. It looks like it might not be the right time for you at the moment, but I'd love to share some free resources just to see if I can help actually get you started without investing. Would that be helpful? Yeah, and then just carry on nurturing them. But if they do want to book in a call, great. Let's get you booked in for a deeper dive with Closer Name or one of our account managers to go through everything in a bit more detail and see how we can actually help you achieve X goal. Does this time work for you? Or you can just say, what specific time works for you in the next day or 2 days? Okay, but that's pretty much how you qualify a prospect and how you go through the phone setting script. Hope this helps. Any questions, let me know. On sales calls, objections are probably the biggest challenge that stop coaches, consultants, salespeople from closing more deals. So how can we get rid of them? What you can do is you can handle them before the call even starts. But first of all, you've got to understand where most objections come from. They stem from a lack of understanding, trust, or perceived value on the product or service. Okay, this is exactly where YouTube content becomes a powerful tool by handling objections beforehand. What you do here is you create videos that pre-handle specific objections so you can warm the leads up so that when they jump on sales calls, most of their questions, the concerns, their objections are already handled. You just need to iron out a few things or even just take payment there and then. Okay, so this training is going to be going through how to actually identify objections, create objection-specific YouTube content, and structure videos that actually build confidence in the prospect. Let's get straight to it. So step one is all about understanding the common objections you're getting on sales calls. Start by listing the most common objections you hear on your sales calls. For example, maybe you get a lot of the price is too high, or I'm not sure this will work for me, or I don't have time for this, or I've tried similar programs before and they didn't work. Write down the main objections you're getting, and if you want to track it for the next 30 sales calls, just track all of the objections you're getting and see which ones are the most common ones. This is going to be the foundation for the first few videos you should create to actually nurture your prospects. Now step two is actually creating the objection specific YouTube content. Let me give you an example. First example of a YouTube video that is objection specific is the price is too high. Right? And the video topic could be why premium coaching gets you faster results and saves you money in the long run. Handling the objection of, I don't want to pay more money up front. I want to do a low ticket program or whatever, right? Key points are just going over explaining why investing in a high ticket coaching program leads to faster, more reliable results. You can share client success stories to demonstrate the return on investment. You can show how working with us or you or the product or the service saves money by avoiding costly mistakes. Right? Let's go into the next example. Let's say someone says, I don't have time for this, right? That time objection. You can create a video saying how to see results in just 2 hours a week with our program. This is pretty much going over how the program is designed to fit into a busy schedule, how that objection is just invalidated and not actually real. You can highlight key time-saving elements of your offer and just sell it even more by making that prospect feel like they actually can dedicate the time. So step three is actually structuring your YouTube videos, right? After you've came up with all the ideas, all the objections you're facing, the topics you're going to cover in these specific videos, you want to structure them. Okay, what I would do is I'd start by emphasizing with the objection to show you actually understand. You don't want to be someone who's just like, oh yeah, that's bullshit. This is why that's not true. Look, you can do it, but you want to show you have empathy. So you want to start by emphasizing the actual objection and saying, look, I completely understand it, right? Explain the logic behind why the objection might feel valid and why it's actually not a barrier that's stopping the prospect. Right? Then you got to provide proof, for examples, case studies, data of how someone has actually done it who has had the exact same objection, or a different type of case study, whether someone has had not too much time, for example, and they've still gotten success. Right? Last one is end with a call to action, encouraging them to book a call or watch another video. Of course, that's a no-brainer. Step four is the type of YouTube videos to create. Right? This could be a range. It could be educational videos answering frequently asked questions. It could be client success story videos showcasing results. It could be behind the scenes of videos to build trust. It could be objection specific videos addressing concerns directly. These objection handling videos could be intertwined into any of these type of YouTube videos. And the last step, which is probably the most important, is you've got to incorporate it into your setting conversation. Whether you do phone appointment setting or whether you do DM, Instagram appointment setting or Facebook, whatever, make sure you incorporate it. When you're speaking to a prospect, when your appointment setter is speaking to a prospect, make sure every single time they get a hint of that objection. Maybe a prospect says, yeah, I've invested in programs in the past. You can say, okay, no worries. Here's a video I created just to give you a bit more insight on that topic. You can send over the video and say, let me know once you've finished. Then the prospect comes back and says, okay, yeah, I watched the video. What did you think of it? Then you can carry on the conversation. You can do this for most objections so that when the prospect books in a call, a lot of your time is being saved from not actually having to handle those objections. Do you guys see how important this is and how much of a game changer this could be for your coaching program? Because honestly, creating objection handling videos is such a good life hack to saving time and energy. Handle the objections in the marketing and not on sales calls. I hope this helps. If you have any more questions, pop me a message on the One Swan channel, or you can book in a call. We can go through your appointment setting script and integrate this. I get it. You want an A-player closer. You want someone to come into your business, align with your company culture, absolutely smash it out of the gate, replace yourself, and just dominate, help you scale your business. But how do you actually find these A-player closers? How do you look for them? How do you actually source them? How do you get them in your company? Now, this training video is going to go for exactly how you can find these A-player closers, the different mediums, and what you've got to think about when attracting talent. Okay? First thing you got to think about is Is your business a company that is ready for an A-player closer? Does your company culture scream A-player? Are you an A-player? Do you have habits that suggest you're a C-player, right? Do you actually have what it takes to facilitate an A-player closer? And the likelihood is, if your business is at the 20, 30, 40K a month mark, you're probably not going to attract the best of the best talent. But you can attract closers who have what it takes, they have the mentality, they have the drive to absolutely dominate, and they already have pretty decent sales skills. When I first started closing in the online high-ticket sales space after 2 years of sales experience in the corporate space, I joined a business at around the 20, 30K a month mark, and I helped the company grow to around 210K a month. Okay, so you can still hire pretty decent talent without being at those high levels. First way I want to go over to find A-player closers, which is probably the most high leverage, is start with referrals. Okay, there's different type of referrals, but the reason why referrals are the best way to attract this talent is because, let's say I am a athlete. Okay, who do you think I'm going to hang around as an athlete? Do you think it's going to be people who work in pizza shops? Do you think it's going to be drug dealers? Probably not. I'm probably going to surround myself with high performing athletes as well. And it's the exact same with top quality talent of closers and setters. Top quality closers surround themselves with top quality closers as well. So the best place to ask for referrals is closers. Message people in your network, people who are already on offers, people who are taking, already performing a decent amount, and say, do you know anyone who is similar to you, who is looking for an offer, who I can get on board? Okay, best place to ask for referrals is closers. Okay, so look in your network and figure out who's in your network that is a decent closer, already closing for a different company. How can I actually ask them to give me some referrals? Okay, the next way to ask for referral is business owners. A lot of businesses have excellent closers, okay, but you can't use them because they're already taken. So you want to ask different business owners in your network, hey, do you know any closers who I could potentially hire for my company that are pretty good? Yeah, and they'll refer you. The next best place for referrals is sales managers. Sales managers often maintain rosters of a ton of talent. They have a hiring pool of loads of closers that they can't exactly take on there and then. So they always have extra talent in their pipeline. Now, if you know sales managers from different businesses or people in your network, drop them a message, give them a call, and ask for any talent they know that would be good for your specific company. Now, this is the referral side of things, and I'd probably leverage this as soon as possible. Second one is paid groups and programs. People have already paid for these programs. The people who pay for programs, not always, but sometimes signify that they have invested in themselves and they actually are serious about their skills, and they have skills in the first place, and they're more of an A player because they can actually stomach investing thousands into their own skills. All right, not always. Some people who invest in programs do it emotionally, but it is definitely a good sign. So, for example, Club Closer, really good high-ticket closing coaching company that you could ask the business owner for closers in there. They have really good training. Appointmentsetter.com, Bastian Slot, I used to work with them as a closer. It's not how you spell his name. They train appointment setters, so you can ask them for appointment setters as well. The reason why these paid groups are good because they already have the foundations. These individuals are already trained. They went into the paid group literally for training. Okay, so great way to find closers. And networking groups as well. Networking groups, I'm in a networking group called A Players. This is an entrepreneurial networking group. Ton of closers in there that you can use to hire. Bit more costly, but this is probably the last resort, one of the last resorts, and it's recruiters. It's very quick, but sometimes it costs money. Okay, $200 to $5,000 for recruitment. And even know some recruiters in the space who do $10K for a train closer, which I think is pretty ridiculous. Pretty decent recruiters in the space is Zach Brown. He runs the Sales Pipeline Pro that you can use. I'm pretty sure he has a pretty cheap recruitment fee, but it's good to have good quality closers because they vet the closers first. And one of the last ones is organic social media outreach. If you have a pretty decent following, then you could post on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram that you're looking for a closer. But the pro with this is it's low cost. It costs you near to nothing. It widens the reach across loads of different networks. But the reason why there's a con with that is it's time intensive and it means you have to sift through large amounts of volume of applicants, and sometimes there's lower quality applicants in there as well. So it's not going to allow you to attract the top talent closers. Now, to sift through these closers and applications, you want to make sure that you have a good application funnel, right? You want to make sure you have an application form that qualifies the closers, that you can go through quickly, that you can see, okay, what this person's experience is, how much they want to earn, etc. Allows you to just weed out the people who aren't really serious. Okay, so let me go through a strong application funnel. Right, a few key questions to ask is, what's your current role and the duration have you actually been on this role? So how long have you worked on the role, and why are you actually looking to leave the current role? Gives you a lot of insight if they got fired or if they're looking for a better opportunity. The current income and time availability, i.e. how many calls can you take every single day, and why they feel like they're a good fit for your company. There's a few more questions that you can ask, but these are the main questions that are going to allow you to sift through different type of applicants, okay? And what you can do if you either want to put it through a job form or a Google form, or you can put a question saying, send me a Loom video with all these questions, and they can send you a walkthrough Loom video of their introduction, and you can gauge their type of personality as well. All right. Like I said, ask the candidates to create a 2 to 3 minute Loom video answering these questions. It pretty much helps you assess their confidence as a closer and their communication skills. Okay. And the last one is what to actually look for in A-player closers. There's different characteristics in A-player closers. The first one is energy. When hiring, people buy from people. Okay, so you want to make sure you look for closers with high energy, enthusiasm, people that you connect with, because if you can connect with them, likelihood is they can connect with people as well. So the first one you want to look for is energy. Okay, next one is cultural fit. You don't want someone to work for your company or work in your company if they don't have the cultural fit, if they just clash. You want to make sure they have the same values of you. So you want to make sure in the interview process you're assessing if they match the cultural fit of the company. Right? Next one is student mentality. Worst thing a closer can have is an ego. They don't want to learn. So if a closer says they're really looking to learn, they're looking to pretty much hold their ego aside and learn as much as possible, that's a really good sign. And the last one is ambition and stability. Right? You don't want someone who's just going to make a flight in a month and go to a different company. You want to make sure that you find a closer that has ambition but isn't too entrepreneurial so that they can be a flight risk. Okay, I myself was a flight risk when I was a first closer or in the corporate space because I wanted to get to the next level. Then I realized I needed to learn. Okay, so you want to make sure you find a closer who is grounded, who isn't saying, oh yeah, I'm doing a marketing agency at the side, or I'm only looking to stay and make a bit of money as a quick buck for a few months. You want to make sure you have a long-term investment because you're going to invest a lot of time and energy into this closer as well. So the last thing I want to go through is the systemized scaling hiring pipeline. So we have a hiring pipeline that I'm going to go through in the next training that's pretty much just going to give you a pipeline of loads of different experience levels of different closers, their introductory videos, how to contact them, so you can skip all this and just go straight to them, contact them. Okay, so stay tuned for the next training for that.
I probably put it. If I stuck it at an 8, and then hopefully once I joined, then it can maybe turn into a 10, can it?
So like, what's stopping you from being an 8 to a 10 is just like you putting in the effort and actually.
Yeah, it's the proof. Obviously, it's all good and well being shown what people are doing, but until you see it yourself and you've gone through it, then you can say whether it's good or not, can you?
And do you think anything's missing on what I've gone through with you today?
No, no, not at all.
Legend. Look, what we'll do, I'll reshare my screen and I'll go through the numbers with you.
Yeah.
Very, very small thing. Just don't assume why he's not a 10. I think you sort of assume to a certain extent why he's not a 10. So just literally ask without saying, oh, is this why? Just literally ask, okay, what's stopping you from being a 10? Do you know what I mean? Sweet.
Yes.
There are 3 different packages.
Yeah.
The main one is our Accelerate package, which I showed you the curriculum of there. It comes down to a one-time investment of 4K. All right.
Yeah.
So that is that one there. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. This one, I don't want you to worry about. That's the scale package. There is a waiting list for that. It's currently full.
Yeah.
But this is our flagship offer here, and it's everything that I spoke about. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, bro. And I can walk you through the next step if you want me to do that.
Yeah.
Sure. So look, generally kind of how the onboarding process works is we send you over a payment link on the call.
Yeah.
Get that processed. Once it's processed, we get you onboarded into the community, into the curriculum, and get you booked on onboarding call. Get you scaling brand.
Yeah. Is there any way you can send me that screenshot of that?
Sure. Yeah, 100%. I can do it now.
So,
I'll send it to you on WhatsApp, mate.
yeah, big deal. Cheers. And then I can. Obviously, I never, no matter what I say, so I'll never just go through it right away. I've got to go and have a think about it or whatever. But
Yeah, 100%. Go in and think about it and do your due diligence. Just to kind of see if I can help them.
I obviously just wanted to know exactly what you were giving me, what the everything.
Yeah.
Just
100%. And when you do go away and think about it, like, what's coming up for you in your mind that you want to think about? Just to kind of see if I can help you.
Pull this off the screen.
Well, as long as I know I've got enough money to do it as well, to pull out of what I've got, or if I've got to wait till it fits out, or even with my OA, if I need to stop doing it in order to put all the time and all into this.
Mm-hmm.
A few different factors, really. Just like to mull it all over and.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
really.
And
I'm not someone who just go, yeah, I'll do it, and then just sign up.
Yeah,
why not?
Cool. And when you're mulling it all over, like, before you go do that, like, do you genuinely think this is the right vehicle for you?
Yeah. This is why I keep looking at it, and I 100% want to do something like this.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's great to hear. So, really, for you, it's like
this. What would that signify?
That.
Other calls, maybe?
It could mean he's not 100% convinced.
The thing is in Discovery, he's already had a call with Rob the Bank, and he was like, I don't want to do Rob the Bank because they were very much focused on setting up in America. And he's like, I don't want to do that. He literally said the words in Discovery, I've been waiting for somebody in the UK to do this, essentially. So when he said that, I totally ignored the red flags given what he said in Discovery. But now that I'm hearing it,
well, you just want to listen, and it's hard when it's fast. When you're on a call, it's very hard to look in between the lines. But he said, I definitely want to do something like this. Okay, that's the second red flag that I would have probed into. The first one, potentially, you didn't do anything wrong, but maybe what you could have done is when he said, I never just jump into things.
I know.
Why not?
I know, bro.
What's honestly wrong with jumping into things? And I argue that he's not jumped into things. He's researched Rob the Bank. He's been in the market for a bit. Do you know what I mean? So it's not really like he's jumping into things. So anything someone says that maybe doesn't make loads of sense, I'd always question it. I'd always hold them accountable. Because there is nothing wrong with getting into things straight away. If you have all the information, if you feel like it's going to get you results, there's a clear return on investment, why wouldn't he jump into it? So you just got to find that data and figure it out.
Do you know what it is, mate? It's like seeing the objection handling. I feel like 5 seconds after I say something, I find what I should have said. You know what I mean? It doesn't come quick enough, which is really frustrating. Probably reps, mate, and
reps 100%. But it doesn't mean you can't ask the question after.
Right. Okay.
Tom, is there anything so wrong? I think that's a really good point what you just brought up, Michael, because I'm the same. But maybe we should be like just waiting the 5 seconds.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, let it come. Because I sometimes think that we all do this as closers. We speed up during objection handling, and then you're like speeding towards the end of the call. Because I do it all the time, and I kind of close down the call before the prospects even close down the call because I'm trying to go so fast.
Yeah. It's really, really easy to race at it, thinking objection handling is a job, thinking it's some sort of task that we have to get past, right? Thinking it's some sort of battle, but it's not, right? And closers don't do this enough. And I made this mistake when I was a closer. It's just not taking time to think, right? Not taking a second to just think, okay, what does this person mean? What do they actually say, right? It's very easiest to resort to typical word tracks, typical rebuttals. Okay, sweet. Yeah, do you believe in the process X, Y, Z? But what's going to really help you in sales as a whole, in discovery, in the pitch, in anything, is just taking a second to think, not assume, and think, okay, what did they actually say? Is there anything I can pick up from this?
100%. Yeah, I definitely need to be a little bit more like that and just slow it down. Slow the tempo down.
The thing is, it shows you're confident and it shows you know what you're talking about as well. Because someone who's confident typically speaks fast, they typically assume things, they typically rush to conclusions. But someone who takes time to think, signified as comfortable. signifies as not nervous, the authoritative figure.
Yeah.
You see those videos of Steve Jobs. He gets asked a question. Sometimes he just sits there and thinks for 30 seconds. Right? It
Yeah.
shows you're actually thinking about it and you're actually trying to help the person, as opposed to just ramming yourself down their throat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. It's like any good podcaster, they take like 3 or 4 seconds to ask a question or answer a question or whatever. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I think feedback so far is just listen to what he's saying and challenge his beliefs. But let's carry on.
Yeah. Let's see how it goes. Logistics of the OA business.
Just switching everything over and wonders what I got to do with it all, and
Right, okay. When you're mulling it all over, like before you go do that.
a few different factors really. I just like to mull it all over and
Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
really.
And
I'm not someone who just go, yeah, I'll do it and then just sign up.
Why not?
cool. And when you're mulling it all over, like before you go do that, like do you genuinely think this is the right vehicle for you?
Yeah.
To get?
Yeah, this is why I keep looking at it, and I 100% want to do something like this.
Ooh.
Oh, that's great to hear. So really for you, it's like the logistics of the OA business.
Just switching everything over and wonders what I got to do with it all, and
Right, okay. That's what I said. But how long do you kind of need to?
I have no idea what that means. Yeah, just switching everything over and what I've got to do with it all. No idea what that means.
They all say it in OA as well. It's like this weird, vague thing. Like they've got I don't even know what they mean. I think it's really
bullshit.
important.
It's complete bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So just challenge this person more. Right? I'm not someone who just gets into things. Why not? What's bad about that? And I'd argue that you've not just jumped into this. Right? You've been thinking about this for a while. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's carry on.
Genuinely think this is the right vehicle for you?
Yeah. This is why I keep looking at it, and I 100% want to do something like this.
Okay, awesome. That's great to hear. So really for you, it's like the logistics of the OA
Why? Why do you want to do something like this?
business.
Just switching everything over and wonders what I got to do with it all, and
Right, okay, cool. But how long do you kind of need to go through that?
I don't know. I'll be thinking about it for the rest of the day, for definite.
Cool, no
I
worries.
don't know. As soon as I know I'm ready, I'll let you know. I'd ring. What's the best way of getting back to you?
Can I ask a question, Tom?
Go for it.
So I ask this question a lot. Mike, I'd love to know if you have the same mindset as me and I need to get rid of it. When I ask someone how long they need to think about it, in my brain, I'm like getting ready for the follow-up.
You're feeding the fire. You're feeding the objection.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Bullshit. Do you know what I mean? And you shouldn't be putting up with it because you giving that validation puts you one step away from actually getting through to the truth. Do you know what I mean? Like if you say, how long do you need to think about things? You're almost subconsciously telling this guy that that's all right. Do you know what I mean? That that's a legit objection.
I need to stop that as well, big time.
I think, do you know what and it's actually the pennies has dropped now. Like I've done okay on this offer so far, and I've been getting deals on the follow-up. So I think there's a bit of a limiting belief. Just sort of subconsciously, maybe when people are giving me objections, I'm like, okay, well, if this person's like very confident, they're probably going to close and follow up, and I'm letting them away with a lot of shite because I have been closing on follow up. Do you know what I mean? So after rewatching this and just getting your feedback, it's definitely a limiting belief and something I need to get over.
Me too.
I promise you, there is thousands you're missing out on from thinking people are closing follow up.
100%. I know.
Let me ask you this: whilst this guy was saying he needs to think about things, did you honestly believe him?
No.
Okay, so you thought that this guy doesn't need to think about things, and it wouldn't be in his best interest. Like, did you feel like this was in his best interest to go think about things and mull things over? Which I fucking hate the word mull it over, by the way, guys. But did you believe that this guy actually had to do that, and it was in his best interest?
No, I was just using his words. I think he said mull it over.
No. I'm not saying for you. I'm just this guy saying it.
Yeah.
If you didn't believe it, then as someone who's supposed to hold people accountable, shift beliefs, and really get people to make the best decisions they can, then why did you agree with it and make it seem like it was the right thing to do?
I think it was the limiting belief of I kind of see where he's coming from, but yeah, and also thinking that
Can you see where he's coming from though? Because it's either one of two things. He's either scared or he doesn't believe this is going to get him to where he wants to go. And fair enough if he doesn't believe he's going to get where he wants to go. But if he's scared, you are doing him a disservice by letting him off the call and saying, yeah, that's fine. I completely understand that. I don't fucking understand why he needs to do that. So I wouldn't say it. Do you know what I mean? So I think part of objection handling is just being true to yourself, being ruthlessly authentic, even if it's a bit awkward and even if maybe you feel like you're going to burn the lead. But at least you're holding this guy accountable, being truthful. I'd fucking hate you to come on these team meetings and lie to me to make me feel good, or, you know, say my management is good even if it's not. Do you know what I mean? I fucking hate that because I'm being lied to. So it's the exact same as on sales calls. I wouldn't say, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's completely fine. When you mull it over, challenge these people.
Yeah, I think
why do you not?
Better.
Why do you need to think about things? You know, why can't you just jump into something? These are all very valid points that you should ask. Because now what's going to happen is anytime, I'm going on a bit of a monologue here, but anytime this guy makes a decision, he's convinced that he needs to get away from the pain, run away from the fear, not face things straight on. And maybe that belief is going to transfer in other parts of his life. I don't know, maybe when he's having a conversation with his girlfriend that's really tough, that maybe he's been put on off for ages, maybe that belief that you've not handled is going to stop him from having a really important conversation with his girlfriend. Quite far-fetched, but can you see how you not handling this objection and this belief is potentially affecting this guy in ways you wouldn't even imagine?
100%. Yeah. I appreciate the feedback. That's good. That's really good.
So, based on that, what do you feel like you could have done better on this call? And what do you feel like you should have changed?
Well, yeah, just chunked it down and understanding, like, what the fuck does it actually mean? Because it was all just bullshit in hindsight. Like when you say you need to work out the logistics of the OA business, like what do you mean by that?
Okay.
And then, as you mentioned, I don't dive straight into things. Like, well, why? I'd argue that you're not diving straight into things, as you mentioned. But I like that, like you've been on calls with Rob the Bank, you've done OA, like you understand that e-commerce as a platform works. Like you're on this call today to make change. You said you can't wait around any longer. So, all due respect, you're not just jumping into things. And just, probe deeper and chunk down and essentially look to shift the mindset to take action on the call.
Yeah, 100%. But you can sort of see it on his face, right? You can sort of see that, not cocky, but smiley, I gotta mull things over. I never jump into things. It's his ego speaking. He doesn't want to admit that he's a bit scared, that maybe he's a bit uncertain, right? So without challenging that, you're not going to know.
That's the way we all talk round here.
Yeah, as soon as I heard it, I was like, whoa. I think at the top of the call, I was like, yeah, I have a colleague that used to sound like you. And then he got, more gentrified. And it's it. But yeah, Tom, appreciate the feedback, mate. That was good to kind of go over. Any of you lads have any other feedback?
Yeah, I agree with Tom. I hate when they say mull it over. It's just become a pet peeve since getting into sales. Let me think about it. It's fine. Like mull it over. Like there's some profound wise owl that needs to make.
You're not going to be on their porch on a rocking chair, just like puffing on a pipe, just thinking about things. They're not fucking going to think about it.
Did Ed Bedlove get that from you, Tom?
Pardon?
When you go say to them, so Tom, before you go with a big old Cuban cigar in your armchair on the veranda, thinking about whether I'm going to do this or not.
Yeah.
You got that from you, did he?
I'm 90% sure in Cape Town, yeah. But But yeah,
I used to.
I think what it stems from, sorry to interrupt you, what it stems from, and I've said this multiple times, is holding each other accountable and saying tough things. I think you guys should really get in the habit of just trying to find bullshit in everyday life, right? I was late to this call. I was the first one to say I was going to do press ups. You guys should have been like, Tom, you're late. Do some fucking press ups. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to make it easy for you guys.
100%. I, on other calls and different offers, have pre-framed like, you know, at the end of this call, if you love what you hear, everything aligns. Are we cool to stick to a heck yeah? And if you feel like this is the worst thing you've ever heard, are we cool to stick to a heck no? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. But if they're like, no, I don't generally make decisions on the calls, then I kind of go through it then and chunk it down and be like, well, look, have you ever done that on calls? Have you ever kind of gone
Never
through that
works.
briefing?
Never works.
I don't know.
I thought it actually it does work.
I used to have to. I used to
Clearly
have
doesn't.
Huh?
Clearly doesn't. This guy's fucking mulling it over whilst we speak.
Yeah, no, but I didn't. That's what I'm saying. I didn't use that on this call. I didn't like pre-frame it. Like after discoveries, I would have asked that question. You know, like before going into pitch.
Sorry, Zane, go
Like-
for it. I know.
No. Look, I think one thing about this space that's beautiful is that some things work for some and other things work for others. So I'm not going to tell Michael it couldn't possibly work. And you've already said that it has worked, which is fucking great. But when I've done it in the past, it created this like huge this huge distraction in the middle of my discovery. So that's why I stopped doing it. But like, if it works, then fucking.
Well, it's sort of, for some people, it sort of prefaces that I'm going to get fucking hard sold. So they put their guard up, right? If you say, yeah, bro, like you're going to make a decision at the end of the call, they're not going to be as honest and they're not going to feel as comfortable because they feel like they're going to get attacked and pounced on at the end of the call. That's what I think anyway. And I also think that you saying, yeah, you've got to make a decision at the end of the call is sort of just like outsourcing responsibility for holding them accountable at the end of the call.
Yeah, okay, I get you. But you can kind of. My thoughts on it are like you can kind of hold them accountable. Be like, okay, you agreed to either giving me a yes or no, and not being in this maybe of where nothing happens, you create no action, you create no urgency, like you're actually getting to your goals. So you agreed earlier on, you give me a clear cut yes or no, and like now we don't have that alignment. So if you're honest with me, bro, like what's going on, like what do you feel uncertain about? And I feel like it's a nice way of tying it back. But yeah, I mean.
You can. I'm personally not really a big advocate of that way. But yeah.
That's cool. I just wanted to kind of get your opinion on.
And so like what happens to my brain is I start believing like in the prospect and their bullshit more and more and more as I don't close. And so I think for myself, and I hope it helps you as well. If it doesn't, that's 100% cool. But for myself, it's like I've got a call in 15 minutes. I feel that you have to like delusionally believe that everybody that you speak to is gonna close. And so then when they give you that weird bullshit objection, you genuinely feel curious about why would you want to pull this over? But I think what we've started to do as guys who have closed a lot of follow-ups, we started to believe that, yeah, mulling it over makes sense, decompressing makes sense.
Yeah.
But it actually doesn't. The guy said to me, I want to decompress.
Yeah.
Bro,
Bro, I'd fucking laugh at that, I'd be like, what?
What did I just do to you that you need to decompress?
Fucking hell.
Yeah, but I
crazy.
let it slide because you get into the mindset of maybe that does make sense, and we've got to try to not get sold by our prospects as well.
100%.
It's all fucking bullshit, honestly. And I think what we should do today, call me out if you don't think so, but I'll call you guys back out because I do think so, is I think we should make it a really big priority. Every person who gives you some fucking bullshit objection that you know deep down isn't true, hold these people accountable. Even if you feel like it might burn them. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I prefer you don't close a deal and you really try and change someone's life than get them in the follow-up. Honestly. And that sounds weird. I honestly, because it's going to benefit you guys as people. Like the skill set of having the courage of just saying, that's fucking bullshit is such a skill set to have.
Yeah. That's my focus for today. I'm trying to close. That's what we're here for. But I want to end the day knowing that I held like 3 to 4 people accountable because even coming onto this call and saying, "Oh, I've looked at some things and they've got under 2K." That's me preparing myself to not fucking close.
Yeah, I'm not
And
looking at that anymore.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. So yeah, man, I don't care if they've got £1. I'm gonna end the day knowing that I held people accountable for sure.
Fucking love that. I fucking love that. Tom, you're on mute.
I just want to speak a little bit on accountability. I don't want to derail the meeting by any chance, but just as a team, I should have said this up front at the beginning of the meeting, but I'll say it now before the end. I've been struggling to get into the gym, and if you conquer the morning, then you conquer the day. So, as a team, might I ask that we all please keep me accountable to going to the gym?
Go to the gym,
Yes, sir.
get inch.
Because if ever we meet in
when-
person, I want you to be impressed, almost scared actually.
When's it scheduled in?
When let me tell you right now, it's not.
There's
it will
your,
be
there's your first problem.
That's my
I
first
tell
problem.
you what, let's fucking do this. Let's all set a goal for tomorrow's meeting. It could be to do with closing. It could be to do with anything. And if we don't do it, we're getting fucking earful by everyone tomorrow. Would that be fair?
100%. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is something everyone's been putting off that they just know?
Mine's not so much putting it off, but it's a real thorn in my side is going to the gym in the evening rather than the morning. Like actually getting up and getting into the gym before the day starts. So that is my goal. I'm gonna go to the gym in the evening, but I'm gonna go in the morning before our team meeting tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
mine is what I just said. Just I want to give you multiple examples of where someone gave me bullshit and I called it out, whether I closed them or not.
Yeah, I'm gonna go that one. So I've had 2 goals.
Yep. Sweet. Tom, what's your goal for tomorrow?
That's what my goal is, to be in the gym, but in the morning.
Okay, so a gym session today and a gym session before the morning team meeting tomorrow. Would that be fair or not?
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Let's get it, bro. Let's get Jack. Get on that crazy.
I just want to say, boys, this is a bit of a sales joke, but it's one my old man told me. He said a man went to the doctor once, and he said, "Doctor, I can't say my F's and THs." The doctor said, "Well, you can't say fairer than that, then."
Very good. What's your goal, Tom Hyder?
My goal is something I've been putting off. Is I've been going to the gym, but I fucking find it so fucking boring. So I sort of just get in and get out in 25 minutes. So what I'm committing to,
25?
yeah, bro, I'll do 4 sets. No, I'll do 3 sets, 4 exercises, and just bounce. So my goal and thing that I'm going to get held accountable to is from now on, I'm going to go for no earlier than 45 minutes or 3 sets, 6 exercises. I think. Yeah.
Get it cracking.
That's
boys,
what I say, we'll give Hydra a hiding.
What? Dad joke? Is that
Hydra a
a
hiding.
dad joke?
Yeah, that's another dad joke. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. All right, lads. Have a really good day. Crush it. Let's
Cheers,
hold some
boys.
fucking
You see,
accountable.
boys.